I'll tell how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
A battle in the heart of Alabama caught our attention. Coal miners in one community, they've been on strike now for months.
Working as long as 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, in some of the most dangerous conditions.
I really think that the labor movement is the single greatest force for democracy in the history of the United States.
The story of Alabama is a story of not just resilience, but of militancy.
I say no contract, you say no code. No contract, no contract.
If we ain't all free, ain't none of us free.
You're listening to Alabama's only union talk radio show, The Valley Labor Report, with Adam Keller and Jacob Morrison.
That's right, folks. From the mountains of Kentucky to the bayous of Louisiana, broadcasting online and on the radio from the heart of the Tennessee Valley, the Spice Radio Studios in Huntsville, Alabama. This is the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host and fellow agitator Adam Keller. Today we have a panel of rockstar union nurses to talk about Southern healthcare organizing. We're also going to take a look at what is happening in Mexico with the labor movement, talking about feeding children and how that shouldn't be so controversial, and more on today's program. If you want to be part of the program, we've got a phone number, and let's go ahead and open the lines up. The phone number is 844-899-TVLR. That is 844-899-8857. You can also leave us a voicemail throughout the week, and we might respond on the next show. If you haven't gotten enough of us by the time that we wrap up here on the radio, or if you just want to see what we're up to throughout the week, you can find us anywhere you find anything online, particularly at our website, TVLR.fm, where we have our newsletters, Last Week in Southern Labor and Boss Watch. And you can subscribe to those and get those newsletters in your email every single week. We also have a donation portal. Our largest single source of funding comes directly from our listeners, so you can find that at tvlr.fm/donate. We also have new hats, and those new hats are in, folks. I just shipped like 30 hats yesterday. Spent 2 hours in the post office. It's crazy how long it takes to actually ship stuff. And it's crazy how much shipping costs. It was like $9 or $10 per hat to ship them across the country. Of course, mostly in the South. Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee is where most of them went. But very thankful for those of you who are meeting us locally to pick them up because, wow, $10 for shipping is bonkers. So you can find that at tvlr.fm/store. You can also become a patron at patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report. And if you're a member of a union, your local can sponsor the show. Your local or international union can sponsor the show. You can reach out to us for more details on that.
Let me add a disclaimer that any viewpoints or opinions expressed in this program belong solely to their author and do not necessarily represent any organization or sponsor. We welcome all of our listeners, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Unclaimed Mysteries Internet Radio, WVNN, WZZA, WHIV, WMMT, or through your favorite podcast app. We are proud to be part of the Labor Radio Podcast Network and encourage our listeners to check that out. And as most of you know, we are not media professionals, just a couple diehard union brothers who believe that Alabama and the South's labor movement and our working class really do deserve a bigger platform. We're hoping this project can make a difference on that front, and we could not do it without you. So we want to thank everyone for tuning in, whether you're a loyal fan or a first-time listener. We appreciate you spending some time with us this morning.
And with that out of the way, let's get to Last Week in Southern Labor. Here's what workers in the U.S. South and the American colonies were up to from April 5th to April 12th. Just a big overview. Union petitions are up 35% in the first half of fiscal year 2024, and unfair labor practice charges are up 7%. After what was already a record year for the NLRB in fiscal year 2023, more workers joined unions through the NLRB than in any other year in the past 2 decades. And yet, the NLRB still does not have the funding that it needs. It has 40% fewer staff than it did in 2014, and yet they're doing something like double the union petitions that we had in 2014. 5 workers at Hospital General Castaner in Lares, Puerto Rico, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Service Employees International Union. 70 workers at Local Cannabis in Smithville, Missouri, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Teamsters Local 41. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 10 workers at Luther F. Carson Four Rivers Center in Paducah, Kentucky, demonstrated support for unionization with IATSE Local 421. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the National Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local Lodge 735, as the union representing the 23 workers at Penske Truck Leasing in Nashville, Tennessee. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify Starbucks Workers United as the union representing 18 workers at Starbucks in Knoxville, Tennessee. 3 workers at Optimum in Logan, West Virginia filed a petition to hold a union election with the Communication Workers of America, CWA. 42 workers at Veolia North America in Beaumont, Texas filed a petition to hold a union election with United Steelworkers, USW, Local 13243. 21 workers at Natural Grocers in Norman, Oklahoma, filed a petition to hold a union election with the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW, Local 1000. 8 workers at ESG Operations in Fort Benning, Georgia, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Union of Operating Engineers, IUOE, Local 926. The employer filed a petition to hold a union election after a majority of the 80 workers at Pompano Beach, Florida, demonstrated support for unionization with the Teamsters Local 769. Workers likely pushed by their employer filed a petition to decertify the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF 14th District, as the union representing 12 workers at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The petition was withdrawn in the same week. 22 workers at Sightline Media Group in Arlington, Virginia, filed a petition to hold a union election with the Washington-Baltimore News Guild. This petition was withdrawn in the same week. 7 workers at Mississippi Power in Gulfport, Mississippi, filed a petition to hold a union election with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW, Local 1211. In election results, 45 workers at Bull Moose Tube in Sinton, Texas, voted 16-26 against unionization with the United Steelworkers. 2 workers at Cesar Chavez Foundation voted 1-1 in an election to unionize with Lone Star Labor Education, meaning the union vote failed. 6 workers at Wells Fargo Bank in Apopka, Florida, filed a petition or voted unanimously in favor of unionization with Wells Fargo Workers United, CWA. 13 workers at Starbucks in Christiansburg, Virginia, voted 13-2 in favor of unionization with the Starbucks Workers United. 17 workers at Rail Crew Express in Thayer, Missouri, voted unanimously in favor of decertifying the IAMAW as their union. And 49 workers at Motors and Armatures in Earth City, Missouri, voted 33-14 in favor of decertifying the Teamsters Local 688 as their union. In strikes and bargaining updates, AFGE reached a tentative agreement with the newly constituted Defense Health Agency, which includes some AFGE members right here in Huntsville and covers 38,000 workers nationwide. Teamsters ratified the first contract at Cisco in Louisville, Kentucky, after recently winning a union election. The 4-year agreement will see raises of as much as 29%, improved safety standards, and more paid time off. In politics and legislation, a new report is showing that outsourcing at the VA is undermining patient care and wasting taxpayer dollars. Exactly what the American Federation of Government Employees has been saying for years. The union is calling on the government to reverse course. After the Republican legislature in Kentucky passed a bill allowing driverless trucks, the Democratic governor Andy Beshear vetoed it with support from the Teamsters Union. Pretty short update this week. If we missed anything, let us know at tvlr.fm/contact, and we'll include it in next week's roundup. We're going to be right back talking to a panel of Southern Union nurses. Stay tuned. Benefit Architects has proudly supported union members and union-made products for over 35 years. If you are a federal employee and an AFGE member, you're eligible for hundreds of dollars in money-saving benefits, including group life insurance, dental insurance, and AFLAC insurance. Additionally, if you're a union member but don't work for the federal government, you can still qualify for several of these money-saving policies. So give Tate Cure a call at 256-215-6769 for details and to enroll. Again, that is Tate Cure at 256-215-6769.
In Alabama, more than 200,000 of our friends and family members are living without health care coverage. Often folks can't stay healthy enough even to keep their jobs. We can fix this. It's time for us to find a way to close the health care coverage gap so that people can remain at work. Let's make this a priority. Let's close this gap and cover Alabama. To learn more and how you can help, visit coveralabama.org.
The attorneys at Maples, Tucker & Jacobs have stood with the working people of Alabama for over 40 years, providing skilled legal representation for your workplace injury claims. When you are injured on the job, it can be a scary time. The attorneys at Maples, Tucker & Jacobs have the experience to guide you through the process to make sure that you and your family are properly taken care of and your rights are protected. If you need help, call the attorneys at Maples, Tucker & Jacobs at 855-617-9333 or visit online at www.mtnj.com. No representation is made that the quality of legal services provided is greater than the quality of legal services provided by other law firms.
Support for the Valley Labor Report comes from the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers Union. Learn more by visiting www.ifpte.org.
Attention union members, membership organizations, podcasters, or anyone with a payment processing need. The future is here, and your organization needs to be prepared by working with Unionly. With Unionly, your union or organization can take payments on a mobile device, eliminating processing fees, giving you a better price than other payment processing methods, while at the same time supporting a union-friendly business with a specialized skill set to meet your needs. Your members will thank you when they pay their dues at their convenience without waiting in line to deposit cash or check. Start preparing for the future today by calling 206-595-8631 or visiting unionly.io.
Are you looking for a better future, a career that can have you set for life, and to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself? If you are, then consider a skilled trades apprenticeship with the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades. The work of IUPAT is all around us, from the industrial painters who work on the bridges to drywall finishers, floor coverers, the glazers who install the glass in our skylines, and so much more. With an IUPAT apprenticeship, you earn while you learn and receive benefits while learning the trade, including a pension. We provide world-class education free of charge. That's right, no student debt. Our starting salaries for apprentices that graduate is above the national median salary with benefits for entire families. And you have the flexibility to take your trade wherever you'd like in the country to work. IUPAT District Council 77 covers our entire region, so give Adam Booth a call at 205-603-3142 for more information. Again, that phone number is 205-603-3142. Come build a better future with us today and join IUPAT.
I'm attorney Tommy Sinyard. When you've been injured and need help, you need a lawyer who's with you.
Sinyard Law. You need attorneys always available to take care of you. Sinyard Law.
And keep you in the loop. It's your case. You need to know what's happening.
Sinyard Law. And never a charge to meet with us to evaluate your case. Sinyard Law.
A new firm, but an old name. One that will stay with you every step of the way.
Sinyard Law, the name with proven results.
Support for this program is provided by the International Association for Machinists and Aerospace Workers, Local Lodge 44 in Decatur, Alabama. Learn more at IAMAW44.org.
Come all you poor workers, good news to you I'll tell, how the good old union has come in here to dwell.
I don't know why I don't know why this scene is muted every time. That's a little frustrating, but we're going to have to fix that. I apologize, folks. But I believe that we are back on now. Right, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hearing you loud and clear, brother.
Okay. Everybody in the chat, can y'all hear me now? The head shake. Poor guy. It's still not coming through?
Yeah, I can hear you on my end. I'm not sure. Definitely let us know in the chat, y'all, if you still can't hear Jacob, or if you can't hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. I would appreciate that as well. Not sure what's going on there, but we can power on.
Okay.
We've got
clear.
confirmation. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know what is... I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, so, thanks for hanging out with us today, folks. Appreciate everybody in the chat. We got about 20 folks watching us, only 13 likes. If you have not liked the stream yet, then please do. Thanks everybody in the chat for contributing to the conversation. Matt, Brandon, Adam, Leanne, Justin, Sid, Jada, Lucy. Thank you, everybody. 844-899-TVLR is the phone number, 844-899-8857 if you want to call in. Everybody knows that Mexico has a really huge impact on the political economy of the United States, just like the South does for the North within the country. And this is because capitalists take advantage of the lesser degree of worker power in Mexico to exploit their workers for cheaper labor than they could, say, in the United States or in Europe. So one of the ways to level the playing field between American workers and Mexican workers so that one group is not undercutting the other, and we're not pitting one another against each other, is for Mexican workers to organize, to have their own real independent unions. This has been difficult for Mexican workers for a long time because of the backwards labor laws and the ability of companies to form company unions. In fact, sometimes when plants move to Mexico, the company will sign a contract with a union before a single worker is even hired, limiting the recourse and a voice that workers get on the job, which is the whole point of a union is for workers to have some amount of accountability and democracy on the job, not for some, outside organizations to collude with the company. And so one of the few good things that the Trump administration did was the renegotiation of NAFTA into the USMCA. It's not a complete game changer, as some will have you believe, and we're going to be talking more about that actually in the second half of the program. And probably a lot of the enforcement that we're seeing is a result of the labor coalition around the Biden administration. The National Labor Relations Act was the same law under the Trump administration and under the Biden administration, but we can obviously tell that the Biden administration is doing more to protect workers' rights than the Trump administration is. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of enforcement steps we get under the USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, under a GOP president. Nevertheless, it is true that for now, enforcement actions are being taken, and the Department of Labor and the U.S. Trade Representative just announced the conclusion of 2 such enforcement actions last week at 2 Mexican auto parts manufacturers, Teclas Automotive and Draxton. At in both instances, the U.S. alleged that companies denied workers their fundamental rights to organization and retaliated against workers for organizing and forced the companies to make the following remedies: reinstating with back pay and benefits as required by Mexican law 2 workers who were dismissed for engaging in protected union activity, issuing an employer neutrality statement on freedom of association and collective bargaining, establishing guidelines to safeguard freedom of association and collective bargaining at each facility, and restructuring each company's human resources department to ensure that staff who were previously involved in denying workers freedom of association and collective bargaining rights can no longer work in those roles, and hiring new personnel to carry out those duties, and they're training workers and managers on the new policies. As a result, workers in both plants have elected new independent non-company unions and are in the collective bargaining process. This is going to be enormously beneficial for Mexican workers, obviously, but also for workers in the United States and globally. The sooner we can get to a place where labor standards are consistent and high globally, the better off we'll be. And people like to pit American workers against Mexican workers as if American companies going down and exploiting Mexican workers is actually better than what Mexican workers could get otherwise. And that is just kind of betrayed by the facts, because actually Mexican auto workers' wages declined after the passage of NAFTA. They did not increase. Before NAFTA passed in 1994, the average Mexican auto worker made $6.65 an hour. Still far below an American auto worker, but today, or in 2016, before the USMCA passed, in 2016, the average Mexican auto worker made $3 an hour. Literally a 50% pay cut to Mexican auto worker wages post-NAFTA. So it's obviously been bad for American auto workers. We know that, but it's bad for Mexican auto workers too. So the UAW has been extremely supportive of the independent union campaigns in Mexico, with them offering material support. And recently, Brandon Mancia, leader in the UAW, wrote an article for Jacobin talking about the ways that they are going to be supporting Mexican auto workers. And Mancia is saying that we will engage with the growing movement of Mexican independent unions committed to new organizing and democracy. We will not dictate to them. We will learn from each other in our common fight for survival. The UAW will assign organizers to work alongside Mexican independent unions and coordinate our campaigns together. We'll offer technical and bargaining support and research where resource constraints inhibit the Mexican unions from developing their own campaign infrastructure. And when Mexican unions go on strike, the UAW will offer support. So, lots of great news coming out of Mexico, which is not something that you can say a lot. So wanted to make sure that we pass that on to everybody. So like I've been teasing, we have on now a rockstar panel of guests that I am extremely excited to be talking with today. We are, and those guests are Elle Kruta, a registered nurse at Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. Keisha Montez, a registered nurse at University Medical Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. And Vanessa Villarreal, a registered nurse at Ascension Seton Medical Center, Austin, in Austin, Texas. So very exciting. And they are all in different stages of their union campaign. So we're going to be able to talk through the entire process from winning your first, winning an election, to bargaining your first contract, to bargaining a second contract, which is something that doesn't really get as much, as much airtime as maybe bargaining your first contract, but is also very important because, your employers oftentimes are going to want to try to, take advantage of any lull that they can get after you win your first contract. So, like I said, really excited to be talking to these folks, and we're going to let them introduce themselves. And so let's start with Elle, or is it Elle or Ellie?
nurse case manager at Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. So happy to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, tell us, and I'm sorry you were muted for just like 1 second, but I didn't hear the correct pronunciation of your name. So if you could tell us that again, and then what kind of work you do there, and what got you involved in the union? Why was that something that you felt was, worth your time or your energy? I mean, a lot of folks, a lot of folks wouldn't want to spend the kind of time that you do doing union activity, like outside of work, right? So, I mean, it's a big commitment.
Yeah, well, I'm El Cruda, and so I'm a nurse case manager at Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. I got really involved in doing union work because it was so important to my family. My mom, my dad was big, huge union members. And so we really got involved in it. And once we learned that HCA was coming in to take over Mission Hospital, we knew how important it was to get a union. It's so exciting.
Keisha, what about you?
Hi, I'm Keisha Montez. I work at University Medical Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I work in the inpatient psychiatric unit there. We have 4 different units, about 60 beds all total together. I decided to join, our union, I would say. We won our union election back in December. It's because I have seen other nurses that worked at other union hospitals and how much better those hospitals are as far as patient safety, patient care, and also for that of the nurse, and we needed that in our community because it was getting pretty rough, with staffing issues and just basic care for the patients, basic needs for them.
Right. And Vanessa, what about you?
So my name is Vanessa Villarreal. I'm a neonatal intensive care unit nurse at Seton, Maine. And, I've been a nurse for 8.5 years, almost 9. And I have seen how management and administration have fallen short on their promises to nurses and to our community. So ultimately, I just wanted to come together with my coworkers and hold them accountable. I think we've all seen how being unfair and how they can be unfair, favoritism, how toxic it is to our in our working environments. And I really wanted change.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate the introductions, y'all. And again, just appreciate y'all making some time because of the important work that you do in your day jobs. I mean, I can't imagine some of the things that y'all deal with from day to day. But I wanted to start with Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. Y'all are the farthest along in your union journey over there. There's about 1,500 nurses represented there, is my understanding. Y'all had a historic election in 2020. You've gone through the first contract cycle. I believe you're now negotiating the second contract. And throughout this whole time, it's my understanding that, nurses have been really organizing and speaking out. There's been a lot of controversy about this hospital, which you just alluded to. So I was wondering if you could just kind of give us the lay of the land. What are some of the issues that y'all have been facing there at Mission in North Carolina? And what is this about HCA?
Well, as you know, we are owned and operated by HCA, which is one of the largest for-profit organizations in the country. And since they've overtaken us, our quality of care has gone down. Our staffing has decreased so much that we are bare bones. The nurses have called on regulatory oversight since 2022. 23, we joined with the North Carolina AG to help with the lawsuit against HCA. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid have come in and put us in immediate jeopardy, which we were trying to figure out. The nurses union have been very, very upfront and forward speaking with our community to let them know what is going on at our hospital, that we're short staffed, that our physicians are leaving, that the quality of care has gone down, patient safety is not good. It's been an exciting time at our hospital as we're gearing up for our second round of negotiations start next week, and we're super excited about it. It's just been one thing after another. We went through the staffing crisis. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think the fact that y'all had your election in 2020 of all years, right, for nurses to organize in the year 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, and then to go through all this with the hospital itself or the for-profit, management, to such an extent that, the Attorney General is getting involved. It's just really, it's a lot to deal with. And so, I really applaud y'all for continuing to organize and speak up. Like Jacob mentioned at the beginning, sometimes there's a lull after that first contract, but y'all haven't had time to rest. Y'all haven't had time to take it easy. I mean, there's just been too many issues coming at you. And so, I appreciate that. And I'm going to circle back with you in a sec to hear more about, how things are going. But I also wanted to hear from Austin. Over at Austin, Texas, Seton, Maine. There's about 800 nurses there, is my understanding. And in 2022 is when y'all had your election. It was the largest private sector nurse union in Texas. That is a huge victory. So I wanted to ask you, what's the experience been like with getting a first contract? What kind of fight did you have on your hands with getting a first contract?
So it was a big fight. We actually just ratified our first contract March 5th. And it's never ending, like Miss L said. Even now with our first contract, some people think that, Ascension will give us everything that we have fought so hard for on a silver platter. And, we still have to continue to fight and raise attention to the issues that we see in our hospital, so that they do, act on it. And now that we have our contract and it's in writing, we're able to hold them accountable. But it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. Yes.
What were some of the things that y'all were most excited to get in your first contract?
I think one of staffing ratios or a staffing grid. Ascension was, and I think other hospitals can speak to this too, that management will do anything to cut corners and to maximize profits. And unfortunately, they choose to understaff nurses, which ultimately affects our patients, and the way that we're able to provide care. So now that we have our staffing grid, we're able to come to management and hold them accountable to, keeping their word to our grid so that we're able to provide the best care that we can to our patients.
I know that is that's a huge issue for nurses everywhere. I know several nurses here. Huntsville Hospital is a non-union hospital, unfortunately, and maybe we're on the radio here. Maybe there are some nurses that are on their way into work, hopefully, that are listening to this, and they're hearing nurses from Texas, North Carolina, and Louisiana that have unionized, and they're talking about this. But that just, if there was nothing else, right? Staffing ratios are that's a huge deal when you're talking about your ability to, perform your job and actually take care of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted to hear about New Orleans because y'all are kind of the freshest addition. You just had a really historic win I think actually it was the New Orleans wins that probably prompted us to reach out to the National Nurses United, because we saw back in December this huge election victory. It was my understanding the first private sector unionized hospital in Louisiana, the largest NLRB election the state had held in nearly 3 decades. And so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit just about that moment when you realized that you were going to have a union. Could you take us back to that and just sort of tell us a little bit about how that felt?
Well, I was at work, and so they held the election at the hospital. And we all went down into this little bitty room. They wouldn't give us a bigger room. And so we all went down. It was just, oh my goodness. We marched on down into that little room, and they had some hospital representatives. They also had the anti-union law firm lady there, which we found out that was her. We kind of knew it was her. And it was just amazing to hear, yes, 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 yes. I mean, I think it was 82%. Yes. I just never, I was like,
that's one of those moments.
Yes, it was. I have videos and everything. We did a chant outside the hospital going, union, union. Yeah, I have, oh man, that was so nice. In the South, you know. So,
yeah.
Besides Texas, but it is just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are the issues that have been animating y'all in your campaign and that you're going to be really kind of zeroing in on as you prep to negotiate your first contract?
Well, for one, like Vanessa said, is staffing ratios to make it safe. Because it is not, I mean, we have charge nurses that are taking like whole teams. And it is just so unsafe. Definitely supplies and definitely workplace violence, you know, attacks on nurses. It is insane. We just recently had an incident where someone brought a gun into the ER.
Wow.
And we had a shooting about maybe 2 years ago. And then 3 of our ER nurses were attacked. I want to say week before last. It was just one incident after another. So, you know, safety for our patients and for the staff. That is so important. I mean, a hospital has to be a safe haven. You know, and that's what people expect when they go to the hospital and they are sick. Nobody expects violence. And those numbers are going through the roof across the whole country.
Right.
You know, something that stands out to me in hearing from all 3 of you is, you know, there's this stereotype in the media sometimes about like greedy union workers and, you know, folks join unions or start unions because they're greedy, because they want more for themselves, that sort of thing. But, you know, what I'm hearing from all 3 of you is advocacy for the people, advocacy for the people you serve, the patients, the safety of yourselves, your coworkers, and all in the hospital, protections from violence, you know, adequate supplies, right? These are issues that affect you as a patient, right? And so I think that is one of the things that to me is most important is that we all interact with the healthcare system at some point in our lives, right? We're all patients eventually. And so that is an opportunity for solidarity. And I would love to hear about that. And that's, you know, I'm not sure which one of y'all, you know, wants to really jump in with that. But if any of y'all could talk about any of the community or labor union solidarity. Did you get support from other folks in the community, whether it's in Austin or New Orleans or right now in North Carolina? Have you had that kind of support from patients and from doctors and from other labor unions? You know, have you had that community backup?
So I definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Vanessa.
No, you first.
No, go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay. So we did have 2 strikes, and here in Austin, which it was a lot of fun. And, you know, it's just a tool that we're able to use to put pressure on management, to make the right decisions. And on the strike line, there was a pilot. I met so many different community members, the electricians union. So that was really cool to see them out there on the strike line in the heat, in Texas in the middle of summer, with us, standing in solidarity with us. That was great. And, and also, like in our process of unionizing, when management would make a unilateral decision, now that we were unionized, or becoming unionized, we were able to, it was really neat to see all the nurses on my unit or even across the facility come together and like stand up to management and, share our thoughts with these unilateral decisions that they would make and hold them accountable. And it was so empowering to like be there with my coworkers and feel like, that they couldn't do this to us anymore. And make these changes out of nowhere that make no sense. And you know how that goes. But yeah, it's just really great that, that we've been able to come together, and I feel a lot stronger and a lot more safer now that I know that I have my coworkers' backs.
Yeah,
They have my back too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that, being able to stand up with your coworkers and like you said, with the community behind you and tell your boss, you can't do that to us. That's how many workers in America get to do that? Not enough. So that's really cool. Elle, what about you?
Wow. In North Carolina, from the beginning, we have had the community behind us, and we've held rally after rally. We've had pickets. We haven't got to strike, which, you never know. But we've never got to do that yet. But in the second contract, we've had the Senator Mayfield is one of our bigger ones. Our Attorney General has been with us, Josh Steins. I've gotten to sit at round tables with all of the community leaders from the different 18 counties that we serve. We've got the politicians coming out to our rallies, reaching out to us to see how they can support us, support our community, support us being more active. We've got physicians joining us now who have either retired or have been forced out of our community because of our lovely bosses. And it's just been amazing to watch the community. We even have a band that comes out and plays at our rallies. We just had a big, huge rally down in Pack Square, and that's where the AFL-CIO were holding their national convention in our community in Asheville. And they marched with us to Pack Square, and we had this huge rally down in Pack Square with everybody there. They were coming in from all over North Carolina to support us. It was amazing. We had the food workers, we had the restaurant, we had the auto industry, we had the electricians. It's just been so amazing to see how much the South really truly wants unions, and they really truly want them to protect the community, to protect the workers. And in healthcare, they're finally understanding all of the stuff that nurses have been saying for years and decades about, hey, we are here for our patients. We are here for our community. We want the best for them.
Absolutely.
And it's just been so amazing.
Well, and while we're talking to you, there's some stuff that in NU, the union that y'all are affiliated with, National Nurses United or the National Nurses Organizing Committee, that they sent to help us kind of get our feet under us as far as the context for each of you. And the HCA, the hospital corporation that you work at, Elle, has been cited for immediate jeopardy after an investigation from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services on behalf of the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services. And I mean, that's just kind of that's the kind of stuff that y'all are really trying to fight back against. And that's the kind of stuff that management is trying to take y'all down and is going to take the community down if y'all are y'all and the community are not able to rein them in.
Yep. That's what we're fighting for. We have some amazing staff nurses. We have an amazing professional practice committee that makes recommendations constantly, monthly to our CNO and about safety in the hospital. And when they don't start taking us seriously, we have to report them up. And we've got no problem doing that. We are here for our community.
Yeah, can you talk to us about that that citation and some of the details there that warranted that immediate jeopardy finding?
Well, they found out that our patients in the emergency room were waiting hours and hours to be dismissed from the community EMS to get to the providers. They cited us for multiple patients that had unfortunately passed away due to delays in cares. A delay in care. It just went on and on about unsafe places, not taking care of the patients in the emergency room, not having enough staff. They cited for you name it, it was pretty much cited.
Wow. And what are some of the things that y'all are trying to fight for in this second contract that you're getting ready to negotiate now that you hope will fix some of these, very real issues?
Yeah, the second contract now, we're focusing on safety. We've got to have better grids. We need to have safe staffing. We need to have them. Obviously, our hospital is for profit. They have the money. They can afford to bring in the staff to adequately staff us. So we're really fighting for safe staffing. We're fighting for our community. We're fighting for, let me just pull up our recent banner that we've just done. There's just so much. We're doing our contract negotiations right now. They start soon. Let me pull this up really quick. Our FVC. So we are trying to get, safe staffing. We want to maintain our current benefits. We would love to make our benefits better, but you know how that goes. We want to be able to have some way of enforcing them. We don't want to go too much into detail on the negotiations because we really haven't started them yet.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense.
But the basics is better staffing.
Yeah, right. And so, Krisha, I've seen you've had a lot of reactions to this, and so I'm wondering how you are, looking at, other union hospitals as they're going into their, they have ratified their first contract or they're going into their second contract, and how you are taking into account their experiences to try to inform how you are going to work on bargaining your first contract.
Yes, I'm just listening to her and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. What they're going for, the same thing. We haven't yet, we've covered a lot of things in our first the first bargaining. And we meet back again at the end of this month. To discuss some things that's going on, but definitely the patients are coming first. Right. In these contracts, and I just wanted to tell her I'm so happy to see you all, your senators, everybody getting involved, because as I always say, everybody gets old and we're all going to be patients one day. So you have to start thinking, this is going to be me one day, so I love the support. We had the same kind of support with the electricians, and there was another guy, can't remember, but he did like casinos. Unions for casinos. But we had our first rally going into the bargaining, and it's just interesting how the union, how our union is helping us, guide us on things we never would have imagined to ask for patience. Even when it came to labs, we were like, wow, I didn't know that was not evidence-based, So the teaching I'm just excited. It's going to be a process, but I'm just excited.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Imagine giving some amount of control to the people who actually administer the healthcare in the administration of healthcare. That's a it seems like it would be a common sense idea that you have people doing the work, trying to inform how the work is done. But unfortunately, it's not always that way. We are coming up on the end of the time. We don't want to keep y'all over, want to be respectful of your time. Adam, was there anything that you wanted to make sure that you asked any of them before we let them go?
Yeah, I really wanted kind of if you had anything to take away to share with non-union nurses about your experience, your journey. You've all been through, you're at different stages of this journey, but you've all been through some really hard organizing. You've had a lot of one-on-one conversations, I can imagine, with a lot of coworkers. And what would you pass along to non-union nurses who may be listening to this, especially here in the South, who may be wondering, can they really do this? Should they really do this? So yeah, I would love to hear that.
I would say go for it. Do it. It is so worth it. All of the struggles, all of the fighting, all of the talking, everything that you do, it is the most amazing thing in the world. And it's the best thing to ever happen to any of our patients and to the nurses. It's worth it. Go for it.
And like you said, you actually get to tell people how to care better for the patient. You're the one taking care of the patient. You come up with ideas and they just squash them. Before before the union, before we were, unionized. And now it's like, no, you have to listen, just taking into account things that we are telling, the uppers and administrators. Just go for it. There's some changes that we've made already. Significant changes, especially now the things they're going to do with safety. We just had like a 2-page memo on this being done. I'm like, wow, man. Right. Protect yourselves. That's all I could say, and your patients.
Yes, and like Keisha was saying, accountability now for us is like a 2-way street, not just a 1-way street, which has been great. It has been hard, it has been challenging, but totally worth it for our patients. I love being a nurse, and the way that nursing is going now, and coming home with moral injury, moral distress, it's just not sustainable the way things are going. I worked in a hospital actually on the border. That's where I first became a nurse, and I think of those nurses every day. And when I'm doing this and fighting back to management, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think of my community and I do it for my patients. And I love being a nurse and I love what I do. And I just want all nurses to feel safe and valued and respected in our workplaces. And it starts here. And it starts, when we come together and work with each other and empower each other to, hold hospitals accountable.
I think that's a great place to end it on. We had a comment in the chat from an old retired paper mill union member here in Alabama. Said nurses are the closest thing to angels that we have here. So appreciate all of y'all, everything that you're doing. Elle Cruda, registered nurse at Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. They are bargaining their second contract now. Keisha Montez, registered nurse at University Medical Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, just won their union election, getting ready to bargain their first contract. And Vanessa Villarreal, registered nurse at Ascension Seton Medical Center, Austin, in Austin, Texas, now enforcing her first contract. Thank you all so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Glad to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Solidarity, y'all.
All right, folks, we're going to head to a break. We're going to be right back with Boss Watch, and we have some conversations about feeding children over the summer. That's apparently a very controversial topic in the Alabama legislature, so we're going to break it down for you on the other side. Stay tuned.
In Alabama, more than 200,000 of our friends and neighbors are living without health care coverage. Often folks can't stay healthy enough to keep their jobs. We need to fix this. Let's close the health care coverage gap. To learn more, visit coveralabama.org.
Support for this program also comes from the Ironworkers, Local 477. So if you are looking for contractors with lower than average EMR and TRIR, they tell me that if you need to know what those mean, then you will. Or if you need to supplement a workforce at any level for any amount of time, short or long term, if you need ironworkers that come trained and certified at no extra cost, or if you need workers from superintendent down to general laborer, and you're looking to start work on a project, or you're unhappy with your current contractor situation, you need to call my friend Jeb Miles with the Ironworkers Local 477. They only work with the best in the business, vetted contractors, and can do all kinds of jobs, from roofing to steel and bridge erection, from welding to heavy rigging, from structural repairs to machinery alignment, and much more. They supply manpower on 4 of the 5 largest projects in North Alabama, so you know they're legit. If you need good quality, safe, efficient, diligent, and knowledgeable workers on your job, then you need the Ironworkers Local 477. Call Jeb Miles at 256-383-3334 or via email at local477@bellsouth.net, and make sure you tell them that you heard about them on the Valley Labor Report.
We're the nurses, firefighters, and claims representatives that help keep our government services running. We respond to natural disasters. We care for our nation's veterans, and we investigate discrimination in the workplace. We are federal and D.C. government workers, and we are proud to serve the American people. Working in more than 70 agencies across the government, we know we can fulfill our mission because our union has our back. Learn more at afge.org. Paid for by the American Federation of Government Employees, AFL-CIO.
The Laborers International Union of North America, Local 366, is proudly recruiting North Alabama workers to work construction and nuclear plant maintenance. If you're interested, please contact Donna at their training center to start the process. That phone number is 256-415-7452. Again, that phone number is 256-415-7452. No experience is needed. Free training is offered, but you must be able to pass a background check and a drug test. Local hiring that grows our community with good-paying jobs that have benefits is their mission. Live better, work union, Local 366, feel the power.
Support for this program also comes from the Mid-South Council of Retail, Wholesale, and Department Store Union. Learn more at rwdsu.info.
I'm Attorney Tommy Sinyard. When you've been injured and need help, you need a lawyer who's with you.
Sinyard Law. You need attorneys always available to take care of you. Sinyard Law.
And keep you in the loop. It's your case. You need to know what's happening.
Sinyard Law. And never a charge to meet with us to evaluate your case. Sinyard Law.
A new firm, but an old name. One that will stay with you every step of the way.
Sinyard Law. The name with proven results.
Come on, you poor workers, good news to you I'll tell, how the good old union has come in here to dwell.
Alabama's only union talk radio show. This is the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison. My co-host is Adam Keller. If you've got anything to add, you can give us a call. The phone number is 844-899-TVLR. That is 844-899-8857. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Give us a like if you have not. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or another podcasting platform. Leanne in the YouTube chat says, in the nursing subreddits, the major complaint is ratios. The almost universal conclusion is that poor staffing is probably already causing needless deaths. Undoubtedly. I don't see how you could come to any other conclusion. And the funny thing is that, we're told that, we don't have wait times in America because we have non-single payer healthcare. We have this insane and perverse system where our healthcare is attached to our employer, where we have to work for somebody to get healthcare. And not only do we have to work, but it's attached to that specific employer. Right? So that makes it all the more difficult to change jobs or to, start your own business for people who, care about that sort of thing. It's just a terrible, terrible system. But the thing that they say is, oh, well, we get great care. And actually, turns out that's not really the case. And we do have a lot of issues with staffing ratios and wait times and things like that, even in this country. So, there's a bill in the Alabama legislature to continue feeding children over the summer. And Adam, this is apparently a very controversial issue, feeding children. So can you break it down? I'm probably just missing something. I'm sure that, the people in Montgomery, they care about Alabama citizens and they care about Alabama's children. And so there must be some reason. Is this the food that we're planning on giving the children, if this bill were to pass, does it have lead in it? Is that why they're opposed to this bill? Is because the bill is planning to give children lead-filled food? Is that the issue?
It turns out it's not the issue. Still trying to figure out exactly what all the issues are, but apparently it's a lot more controversial than you might imagine to feed hungry kids, which is quite a shame. Just to kind of give y'all the background, what folks are asking for is a $15 million appropriation for summer EBT. Summer EBT would provide eligible Alabama children $40 per summer month for food. $40 per month
crazy.
For food. Okay? Now think about it, y'all. Summertime, there's no school, right? If you depend on free and reduced lunch, if you depend on breakfast, some schools even have supper programs, right? A lot of our kids get their meals from school. They depend on school for their nutrition. 1 in 4 Alabama children are food insecure. So that's hundreds of thousands of Alabama's children who are not sure where all their food's going to come from this summer. And the summer EBT program has been shown to help alleviate this problem. It does reduce hunger. It does support healthier diets among children. And so this is a really small ask, but it would ensure that hundreds of thousands of Alabama's children don't have to go hungry next summer. 94% of Alabama's children who received free or reduced lunch school meals during the school year did not have access to these meals over the summer. Right? So a lot of kids depend on them. These meals are not accessible for the most part. There are some school districts that are doing some summer feeding programs, but by and large, it's not really happening. Summer EBT could help kind of fill in the gap there. Again, an initial appropriation of $15 million, but it will deliver a substantially higher return on investment. About $10 million investment in summer EBT results in about $100 million in economic activity. And it makes sense, right? Because every little $40 card is going to get spent at local grocers, local stores. It will, generate economic activity in every corner of the state, right? And that's something that, I think about this a lot when it comes to Medicaid expansion, when it comes to summer EBT, when it comes to these programs where we're constantly having to beg Alabama officials to accept federal dollars to help people in our own state, and help people in a way that is broad-based. It would touch all counties in Alabama. So again, we're talking about $120 total, $40 per month, $120 total per kid. That's it. Only asking for $15 million out of the budget. It could be the general fund budget, could be the education trust fund budget. I mean, there's arguments to make for either one of those. But at the end of the day, this is a very, very small ask. And unfortunately, Alabama already opted not to participate in 2024 program. So this is for 2025. The ship has sailed for 2024. So we're going to have additional hunger this summer among young people. But we have a chance to make that better for next year. So I really, really encourage folks to, make a quick contact. Alabama Rise has been putting out a lot of information on this through their Hunger Alabama Coalition. Other folks have as well. There's an op-ed that Carol from Arise co-wrote with Laura Lester from Feeding Alabama, which is a food bank network. Hopefully that'll be coming out in the next week or so, hitting some media markets. But yeah, Alabama is one of only 14 states that will not fund the program this summer. We're missing out on all the benefits of that investment. And, the negative ramifications are pretty obvious. They show up in our classrooms. They show up in our communities. They show up in our hospitals, in our food pantries, right? Hungry children struggle to focus and learn. They have poor educational outcomes. That reduces their quality of life. It holds our state back from reaching its full economic potential. We can do something about it. All we need is for Alabama's legislators to include summer EBT in the budget process. And guess what? We'll actually support a healthier future for a lot of children in Alabama. And that should count for something.
Yeah, you would think. That really is it. It's just indefensible. $40 a month.
Right. It's a federal program. It's already been established, right? All we got to do is take advantage of it. Put in a little bit of our own money. The feds cover most of it. And it's just really, it's so frustrating here in Alabama to have to beg your legislators to do what is the status quo in a lot of states.
Right.
Medicaid expansion, summer EBT, a lot of these programs are long established in other states, quite successful for what they are. They don't go far enough in many cases, of course, but, provide real material help to people and generate economic activity, right? And after all, that's what the Alabama legislators claim to be most concerned about is the economy and economic development. Well, here we go.
Right.
Let's invest in the economy from the bottom up. Let's actually feed people, children, keep children out of hunger, and it'll be a boost to the local economies all over the state. So It's a no-brainer. Let's do it. Get the word out. Summer EBT, it's really, really a lifeline for a lot of kids, and it kind of grew out of the pandemic EBT program, when schools were shut down and kids were trying to replace those meals. So as a former educator myself who often dealt with kids coming to the classroom hungry, it's just a shame that we're having to fight this hard about it. But really encourage Alabama's legislators to include this in their general or education trust fund budgets.
Workers at Mercedes are continuing their campaign to unionize. They are the second non-union automaker to file for a union election with the UAW. And the company, despite being a German company that has agreed to German laws that say that, since you're a German company, if you have a union campaign worldwide, you have to be neutral in it. Despite that, they are very obviously not being neutral. They're encouraging their members, their employees, to vote no. And it's all very, very similar stuff to what we've been seeing. More Perfect Union put together some clips from some of the meetings that have been held and some interviews with the workers themselves. So, Adam, let's play this clip about Mercedes union busting.
You're within spitting distance of a life-changing victory right here. That's why Mercedes is doing what companies always do, pulling out every trick in the book to instill fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or sow division among the workers, to scare people away from standing up for a better life.
My company's official public position is that this is all up to the workers. They're allowed to make their own choice. Then every day inside the plant, I see the anti-union campaign.
The union cannot guarantee you anything.
Over a 3-year contract, the UAW stands to collect tens of millions of dollars in dues deducted from paychecks.
I believe you shouldn't have to pay union dues and generate millions of dollars per year for an organization where you have no transparency where that money is used.
Okay, just pause there for a second. That is amazing. Coming from an executive of a company, talking about you shouldn't have to pay for, millions of so a corporation or an organization can make millions of dollars per year with no transparency. There is no corporation in the country that has to be as transparent as unions. Unions have to file all sorts of forms every single month. Members get to vote on budgets every single month. You see how much of your dues are going to your local and your international. You get to vote on people who are going to be approving the international budget. You can see the international budget. I mean, there is no comparison when you're talking about the transparency between union funds and company funds. I'm making millions of dollars for corporations, and they get to spend that money however they want. It's absolutely, it is just laughable for the head of a corporation who this guy makes millions of dollars per year himself as an individual. There is no UAW official who has ever made millions of dollars per year. Never. That's never happened. Ever. And yet this one single guy, he's not even the only executive at Mercedes that makes millions of dollars per year. And he's trying to tell you that, UAW officers make too much money. They're not accountable. They're not transparent. It's, baloney. Let's continue.
Captive audience meetings where our CEO said the UAW can't help us.
And then he was telling the union wouldn't help. The union's not good for us because right now we're a family and that would all change. But
all right, I got to stop there on that. The "we're a family" is a classic one. A pretty dysfunctional family would be my imagination because to hear from a lot of these workers, they don't feel like they're part of a family. That's for sure. And if you look at the statistics on their wages and benefits and how it's declined over the years and the Alabama discount and on, it's not much of a family. But that's also hilarious to me, that the idea that you're no longer a family if someone in the family has a voice. Yeah, it's very disturbing.
this is definitely not how I treat my family.
They had their time to speak up. They had their time to change and do right by us. And now it's gone. We're looking forward to UAW representing us.
They're going to fight because this is about power. And right now they have it and they don't want to share it.
As a worker at a non-union auto plant, trying to form a union at my workplace, I think it's absolutely terrible that I don't have the right to make that decision independently of my management's influence.
They have pretty much shown a video, if I'm not mistaken, every single week about the union.
They can make us sit and watch those. People want to get up and leave. I've asked my supervisor, do I have to watch this? And he says, yes, you have to watch it.
You may have heard promises that the UAW will give you in a contract. This time of year, they love service.
The company's just trying to make it look like, you know, having a union in the workplace is just totally negative.
Collective bargaining is an uncertain process that could result in you getting more, less, or the same as what you have now.
I thought they were supposed to be neutral, but this really don't seem neutral.
A good example of how this could play out is the government's government. As of today, Starbucks has not yet signed its first contract.
Yeah, we can stop it there. That's a good. Great minds think alike. That is just amazing that they would point to another company that has not signed a contract yet. And I mean, what is it that they're saying? The thing that they're saying there is, we might fight you as hard as Starbucks has been fighting their baristas. That's a threat. That's a threat. By alluding to Starbucks, but it's a threat that was very quickly undercut because, I mean, literally within days of that meeting happening, this is from like an older meeting, is when Starbucks announced that they were, Starbucks and the union released a joint press release announcing that they were coming to an agreement on a foundation for a nationwide contract. So, you know, it's kind of a funny allusion to make there, even with its implicit threat, because Starbucks is now folding. So.
Right. Hey, you know these other folks that are unionizing? You know how their boss has just been totally violating the law and been incredibly rampantly busting their union and fighting them tooth and nail?
Yeah, we might do that.
You heard about them? I guess we could do that too. Yeah.
And it's just so misleading, if not an outright lie.
They're having the group leaders talk in meetings and kind of tell stories about the union and what it did to different family members.
So this is just me speaking to y'all, not as your boss, but as your friend. Okay.
Now hold on, stop for just for a second. When my friends talk to me, I can leave. I can choose not to listen. If Adam is just being really boring, I can just walk away, and he can't dock my paycheck. Right?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. That's right. But yeah, that's just so bonkers to be at the front of a captive audience meeting where the people listening to you literally cannot leave and say, I'm not speaking to you as your boss, I'm speaking to you as your friend. That is bonkers. Okay.
Group leader, she talked to us about her experience with a union. She said things as in along the line of, we get a union, she can't come help us like she normally does. She won't be able to give us our bathroom breaks, basically saying that.
Right, yeah, that's a very
the union would
famously unions stop
union.
bathroom breaks.
I'm telling you right now, I'm not your enemy.
To me, it's all in an attempt to sway numbers or to intimidate people.
Today, I want to share my opinion with you, and it's clear. I don't believe the UAW can have us to be better.
When the CEO spoke and was telling us his negative feelings about the union, I kind of felt like, you know, how dare a person leading this company making potentially millions of dollars a year talk to us workers like he knows what's best for us.
I think it was really ridiculous of him to stand up there and say he cared when he really didn't. I was on the front row. This man was reading a teleprompter. You know, I feel like he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the team members. They care about their pockets.
I wish the CEO understood that even though maybe we don't have 4-year degrees, we may not be engineers, or we may not have years of management experience, that the workers actually build the cars, and we know how valuable we are to the company and what we contribute.
And I want y'all to know, y'all my people, and I got you. And if you don't think that's the truth, try me sometime. Let the company mistreat you, and then call on me and see what I do. And I won't never let you down, regardless of what the future holds.
I just hope to win a better future for the people who come after, and it really is a better future for Alabama, because I feel like we've been put on the low ball for too long.
Right now we're being pushed against the wall, and if we don't do something, it's just going to get 10 times worse.
For those co-workers who have family, do it for your family. That's why I'm doing it. My kids are the single most important thing to me, and I'm looking to brighten their future.
Are you ready to fight? Yes! I can't hear you.
Who are we? UAW. Can't hear you. UAW. One more time. UAW.
So there we go. Great video from More Perfect Union. Appreciate their work. Another piece that's come out about the union busting at Mercedes in Alabama is in labor notes from Luis Leon. The title is, "With a Velvet Glove, Mercedes Tries to Punch Down the Alabama Union Momentum." And he's talking about some of the captive audience meetings, stuff that they were saying there. Talking about how the vice president of quality elaborated on, quote, "what we are doing to react quickly to changing conditions when it comes to hiring strategies and compensation for our team members," obviously referring to the UAW campaign. They announced at a meeting subsequent to those meetings just recently, like in the last few days, that workers will receive $700 on April 26th for a quarterly performance bonus, and talked about improvements with onboarding new hires. He says, Luis says in his article, the plant has struggled to retain workers and suffers from understaffing, especially on grueling assembly lines where workers are denied bathroom breaks. And so this $700 bribe is that's coming at an interesting time.
Wait, I thought the union was putting a stop to bathroom breaks when they get in there. You telling me they don't have plenty of bathroom breaks right now?
That's kind of funny. Yeah, turns out the boss is actually the one that's stopping you from having bathroom breaks, not the union. But the $700 bribe is coming at a really interesting time because there was just a case at the NLRB where the NLRB ordered the company to bargain with a union after a union vote narrowly lost, because in the campaign, the company did exactly that. I think it was actually even potentially a $700 bonus check to workers, and because it didn't have any precedence, it didn't have, it was clearly to try to stave off the union, and it's illegal to do that. It's illegal for the company to promise better if you don't unionize, and it's also illegal for them to promise worse if you don't unionize. It's because that's messing with the laboratory conditions of an election, right? That's what the NLRA sets out, is that union elections should have laboratory conditions on whether or not workers want to join a union. And so that either, working with the velvet glove kind of thing, the good cop thing is illegal, the bad cop thing is illegal. It's illegal to do coercion. And so the NLRB has actually implemented a bargaining order for doing exactly what Mercedes just did. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that this time, because I think the union is just going to win. I think that the workers are just going to join the union. But that's a potential outcome if that $700 check is found to have no merit. Workers have also said management uses favoritism to dole out overtime and other perks through what's known as group leader discretion. Sometimes workers say the favoritism is racially coded. So the company is now going to run focus groups. Plenty more captive audience meetings ahead of the union vote from Luis. And, one of the things that they've pushed back on in these captive audience meetings is the idea that they came here for the Alabama discount. And so Luis just lays out some facts about the Alabama discount. He talks about how Jeremy makes $32 an hour after 24 years on the job at Mercedes, and workers now top out at $34 an hour compared to $47 an hour at the Big Three by the end of the current contract. As part of a benefits package for locating in Alabama, America's fourth poorest state, Alabama gave Mercedes a $42 million subsidy for plant construction, and for a while the state paid the wages of trainee workers, borrowing from the state's pension fund to do that. That's crazy. But no, Mercedes says that they came here for the people, because the people in Alabama are just so unique and different from anywhere else. It's not at all because the government was paying the wages to train our workers. Absolutely crazy. In 17 years, this is from Jacob Ryan, in 17 years, Mercedes workers have gotten a raise of $4.50 an hour. That is insane. absolutely unacceptable. So they're not accepting it, and that's why they're unionizing. And we are obviously going to be continuing to update you. And definitely, if you want to read the latest reporting, because we're not able to do the kind of reporting that More Perfect Union and Luis is at Labor Notes. So I highly recommend following Luis. He is kind of the guy to go to for the Southern UAW campaign, the latest and greatest on that. He does reporting on that with the seriousness and care that it deserves. So definitely follow him, follow Labor Notes. I'm going to have time for only one or two Boss Watch stories, but wanted to get at least a couple of them to you. In Florida, as he had many other days, the morning shift welder arrived at 5 a.m. to work at St. John's Shipbuilding Company in Palatka, Florida, on August 28, 2023. Tasked with doing some fabrication work in a 4-foot by 8-foot space in a ship's hull, the employee began work unaware that fatal suffocation would soon end his life. Less than 2 hours after entering the ship, a supervisor found the unconscious welder and signaled for help, only to fall unconscious as well. A third employee appeared, alerting EMS and the Palatka Fire Department, who soon transported all 3 workers now to a nearby hospital. Despite the emergency treatment, the welder died from a lack of oxygen. The supervisor and third worker received medical treatment and were released. Inspectors with the U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration determined that St. John's Shipbuilding exposed workers to oxygen deficiency by sending the welder into a confined space without first testing the air for oxygen content. The presence of welding gas in the space created an oxygen-deficient atmosphere. In addition to a lack of oxygen, OSHA inspectors found the shipbuilder also exposed workers to struck-by hazards and crushing hazards by failing to conduct an annual inspection of 6 cranes. The agency cited the company with 4 serious violations and has proposed $55,000 in penalties. The company has contested the findings, because of course they have, before the Independent Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission. In Texas, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency recently finalized a settlement with Sasol Chemicals over alleged violation of the chemical accident prevention provisions of the Clean Air Act at the company's facility in Westlake, Louisiana. Under the settlement, Sasol will pay more than $1.4 million in civil penalties and correct violations related to an October 2022 fire at the facility, as well as those found during a compliance evaluation in 2021. The facility is adjacent to the Mossville community, which Administrator Michael Regan visited on his Journey to Justice tour. Residents of the historic community of Mossville, founded by formerly enslaved people in the 1790s, live on the fence line of Sasol Chemicals and close to many other industrial facilities. Families here experienced a daily pollution burden from these facilities, and many have been affected by cancer and other serious diseases. Administrator Michael Regan visited Mossville and other environmental justice communities on his Journey to Justice tour to listen to their stories and concerns. Through the resolution of this case, EPA is furthering the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to advancing environmental justice by enforcing stronger safety requirements for industrial facilities and requiring new measures to protect communities. From January through July 2021, the EPA conducted a virtual partial compliance evaluation, VPCE, of the Sasol facility under chemical accident prevention requirements of the Clean Air Act, including Section 112R and the General Duty Clause. On October 15, 2022, during the process to settle alleged violations during the evaluation, a fire occurred at Sasol that resulted in a shelter-in-place order for the entire Westlake area. The settlement announced today addresses violations from the evaluation and the fire. Under the settlement, Sasol will pay a civil penalty of $1.4 million. Sasol will also undertake several actions to resolve alleged violations, such as improving systems and procedures to assure timely completion of the process hazardous analysis recommendations, and other things. So there you go. That's going to be it for the first half of the show. We're going to be back. We're going to continue the show, another second half of the show. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for that. Or if you're on WMMT, just make sure you stay tuned to WMMT and you'll hear it in a couple of days. We're going to be talking to members, the former president of the United Steelworkers Local 12 at the Goodyear Gadsden tire facility. He is going to be responding to some of the lies of Alabama State House Representative Scott Stadthagen about the closure of the Gadsden Goodyear facility. He was the local president during that process, and so I wanted to get him on to talk about some of Stadthagen's allegations, because it's all nonsense. So you're going to want to tune in for that. We've also got some other good clips that we're going to share. You can find our website, TVLR.fm. There is a donation portal there, as well as our merch. Our hats are in, so we have shipped a bunch, and we will continue to ship them as we get those orders in. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you are not going to continue listening to the second half of the show, we will see you next week. All right. That's it for the first half of the show. Like I said, got a great second half of the show lined up for you today. Don't go anywhere. We are going to be right back.
Come on, you poor workers, good news to you I'll tell, how the good old union has come in here to dwell.
welcome back. You are still listening to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host Adam Keller. We are now in the second half of the program we call Overtime. We got a whole another hour and a half for you. Now on the radio. We used to be free from the shackles of the FCC censors, but this program now airs in a few days on the radio. But we can be a little bit more loosey-goosey because we've got a few days to edit out bad words. So it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And I think it's for sure worth it to be able to speak to people on the radio in Whitesburg, Kentucky. If you're listening to us as a podcast, give us a 5-star rating. If you are listening to the stream, make sure you like the stream. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a website where folks can make donations, tvlr.fm/donate. We have a merch store. We have our hats in. You can find that at tvlr.fm/store. And we have a place where folks can reach out if they are members of unions that are interested in sponsoring the show, tvlr.fm/contact. So like I said, we got a great overtime lined up for you. Adam is a huge Ozzy Osbourne fan, so we have a clip that he's going to love about Ozzy Osbourne and unions. There's a Fox News host thinks $20 an hour is 6 figures. So we're gonna be helping him out with some math on that. But most importantly, and we're gonna start off with talking about the is Mickey in the Zoom yet?
Let's check. No, not yet. But
okay.
Yeah,
then we'll
give it a minute.
Yeah, we'll give it a minute. We'll take a look at this Ozzy Osbourne clip. And react because it won't take too long. But so Ozzy Osbourne has a podcast. Apparently, everybody has a podcast. That's why I didn't want to just do a podcast. I wanted to be on the radio, so I'm a little bit different. But Ozzy Osbourne has a podcast, and in this latest podcast, they talked about. There's been some hubbub about unionization in reality TV, and people, when you hear that, you kind of think some people may think it sounds silly because reality TV is just so, it's literally just a caricature of the most insane type of people that you can imagine. And so folks think about that and they're like, well, why would they need a union? They're just being crazy. They're just being themselves and they're getting a lot of money for it. So like, what's the deal there? And so I wanted to play you this clip before we played the Ozzy Osbourne clip, just to remind you of some of the stuff that people who do reality TV, especially people who are not already famous, just normal people or like semi-normal people, because, if you do reality TV, you're probably definitionally not a normal person. But for folks who are kind of semi-normal and do reality TV, it is not all glitz and glam and glittering and gold. There's a lot of real exploitation and issues there. So let's play this clip from More Perfect Union.
They are in control of every element of your life. You're put in a hotel room and you don't have a key. You don't have access to water unless you want to drink it out of the faucet or the shower. We're all just sitting there, not being fed on any kind of regular cadence. But definitely being fed a lot of alcohol. My body was just exhausted and dehydrated and hungry.
There's 3 blueberries. You eat them sparingly.
I lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks from the pods in Mexico. And looking at my suit, I had that thing tailored like the week before coming. And
like a perfect fit, right?
Like a perfect fit, yeah.
No, it's like your first suit out of undergrad, right? You just go to Macy's and pick
up whatever's on sale.
We didn't have any autonomy at all. Not only did they take our phones, they took our wallets, they took our IDs, they took our passports, all in the same instance, without telling us ahead of time this was going to happen.
And we were filming 18 to 20 hours a day. The only time we weren't being filmed was when the union crews swapped out for a new crew because they had met their maximum for the day.
You never see daylight unless you're allowed to use the bathroom, which is a trailer outside. They keep you in the state where you really have no idea how much time has transpired. It's one of those things where, looking back on it, if someone told me it was a month, I might have believed them.
There you go. Those are some very serious stuff that they're having to go through. There's some more in that video. You can find it. More Perfect Union. You look that up. More Perfect Union. Love is Blind. They're doing some good reporting on that. But as you can see, there's a lot of the actually a lot of the kind of wild behavior for some of these series that kind of profile normal people, quote unquote, some of that behavior is manufactured, and not manufactured as in there's kind of a rough script and they encourage people to kind of act silly. It's manufactured as in they give starving people booze and don't let them leave. Like it's, seriously, abusive kind of stuff here. And so there's a real need for protection from some of the worst excesses of the reality TV industry. And so Ozzy Osbourne was asked about this, and let's listen to his response.
So that being said, do you believe that they should start unionizing reality TV?
Keep the fucking unions out.
I do love you.
Okay, so you want to pause it there, Adam, and give me some of your first thoughts?
When you get unions involved, you got all these stipulations and that stuff.
And I kind of like some of those stipulations. Like,
go ahead.
So his first reaction is to keep him out.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really sad. Big Black Sabbath fan. Ozzy is a legend. You know, it's sad. It's sad when folks just, I don't know. I mean, his whole career, right? He's had to rely on other folks, union crews in many cases, right?
Yeah.
IATSE has probably worked many of his performances.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's really sad. And, you know, the rules, those onerous rules like feeding people, you know, giving people breaks. Very, very disappointing from Mr. Osbourne. I mean, to his credit, I don't know how all there he is these days.
That's true. There was a point earlier in the podcast where somebody literally asked him a question like 3 times before he understood what was going on. So, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I wonder if there's any interview footage of him from 50 years ago where someone was asking him what he thought about unions.
Well,
then.
See, maybe if Ozzy was part of a union, they could do elder abuse protections.
Maybe.
Just throwing it out there.
All right, let's continue.
All these stipulations and that stuff.
And I kind of like some of those stipulations. Like,
go ahead.
Cut to like. Some days when we're doing reality, Jack and I, we've been on set for like 17, 19 hours and you're absolutely exhausted. You haven't eaten. There hasn't been a break. And they're allowed to film that way because there is no union and no rules. And Jack, you were saying before that you don't get a pension.
Can't you go, hey, I'm fucking hungry. I want to get some food.
So pause it there.
Yeah, that works when you're Ozzy.
Yeah,
Osbourne.
right, exactly. What are you talking about? What a dumbass. That's crazy.
Yes, as a rock star that everyone knows, like everyone in America, regardless of what kind of music you listen to, you know about Ozzy Osbourne. And yeah, if he comes up to someone and says, "I'm fucking hungry, I need some food," they're probably going to give him some food.
Yeah, if
the guy making $12 an hour says that.
What do you mean? You're on a reality TV show and you just say, "I'm hungry," and they get you food. What do you mean? Why are you so worked up? Why's your knickers in a twist?
Tired. I want to go to bed.
No.
Oh, you want to try doing The Apprentice then?
Well, they got
that was cruel.
Yeah, but
really
but
cruel.
wouldn't a union would have stopped that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that.
But there's a point. You've got to have someone on there that says, "I think it's time enough." That's about it. You get
okay, so and now here's another one. Oh, you just have to have a good boss. That's all you need is a good boss who says it's time enough. It's all yes, there's enough exploitation of the workers.
Jesus.
You got to pay dues and fucking.
What's her name? The one who came out with Skinny Margarita, who was on Real Housewives.
Oh yeah, you have to pay dues.
Oh yeah.
God forbid you pay dues. On average, union workers make $191 more per week. Now, I don't know what the average union dues are per week, but it's a hell of a lot less than $191.
Yeah, mine are $10 a week if you want to break it down that way.
Bethany, I love her.
So she's like a few times I've seen in the press over the last year since all the strikes. She was like, "We're going to unionize non-scripted."
Yeah.
And I think I could see a benefit to it ultimately, but I could also see it now creating less work in non-scripted. It's already drying up. Like there's the amount of stuff that's in production this year versus last year, it's insane. There's like nothing being made right now. And if there were to be a whole bunch of union rules and fees and extra costs, like the cost in which networks are paying for things now, it's going down. It's way down. So it's just going to ultimately, the product will suffer.
Fizzle.
It's just 20 years too late.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
But the thing is, look, okay, you look at production companies now going out of LA to make shows. That's becoming more and more because of the union for the crew.
I've shot so much this year in Ireland, Atlanta, everywhere but here.
They don't want to keep up, even for your crew.
Yeah.
So, again, who's the bad guy here? Right? Is it the union that is demanding that there be fair rules, that there be regular breaks, that there be, reliable schedules? All reasonable ask of any employee, right? And even they, as celebrities who make their living doing silly stuff, I mean, they're talking about some of these real issues, right? On the set for 17, 19 hours at a time. That's unreasonable for any person.
Right.
And, again, to their point, like, if there is less reality TV being made, I don't think it's fair to assume it's because there's more union interference.
Right.
I think.
Well,
that's
I mean,
quite
there's
a
not
stretch.
right now. There's zero union interference in reality TV right now, other than the people who are the crews. But that's been the same forever. And so
IATSE's been around over 100 years. now.
So pointing to the decline of reality TV production in the last year, and then saying, and therefore we shouldn't. I mean, that's just absurd. That's just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, you could cut cost in any industry by cutting labor standards. That's possible, but that's not what we want as regular everyday people.
Right.
And without your crew, you're fucked.
100%. Yeah.
But yet they will still do it because it saves.
Yeah.
And like they go to Eastern European countries to film and all of that.
Do you know now there's some productions which have their edit bays in other countries, like they have them in Southeast Asia and Australia, because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
The cost of a good editor in Thailand is far cheaper than a good editor in LA.
Well,
yeah, I mean I think that's the clip.
And I think that's
exactly the argument that people make against auto workers unionizing.
Right, and the answer is still the same, right? If you don't organize collectively, you don't have any chance of responding to any of these trends. Right? Whether it's outsourcing labor or outsourcing the production of, whatever the situation may be, some of these are real trends that impact real workers, but without a collective organization and a voice, what are you going to do about it, right? And I think there are some people who really just do believe that you should just be at the whims of your betters.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality, and that's just all we can do is just be at people's whims and hope that they're nice to us.
Yeah.
To bring back Ozzy's point, maybe just get a better boss.
Yeah.
So that's just not realistic for most people. It's really disappointing. But, I mean, Ozzy has been a rock star since, the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Black Sabbath came out in the late 60s. I mean, he has been a big-time guy for over 50 years. I'm sure his life and his life experiences is a little bit different than the average crew member.
Yeah.
Right? The IATSE member.
Or even the average reality TV star.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so the average crew member or even the average entertainer on reality show programs, very, very different that they're coming into this. And so, it's always disappointing when artists that you appreciate and enjoy say stupid stuff. But, again, I listened to Ozzy's music he made 45, 50 years ago.
Right.
Not his opinions in 2024, thank God.
All right, so let's talk about Gadsden. Have we got Mickey and Bryn on the line now?
Let's see. I think we've got Bryn on the line, and we may have Mickey now. We've had some trouble getting Mickey's connection, but it looks like he may be coming on now. So
good deal. Okay, so Bryn Riley is the president of the Alabama AFL-CIO. I actually got a request just last week to have Bryn on the show, so it's serendipitous that that we have an occasion to bring him on. Bryn Riley, president of the Alabama AFL-CIO, also former president of the United Steelworkers Local 12 out at the former Goodyear facility in Gadsden. Mickey Ray Williams is current staff representative for the United Steelworkers in Tennessee, and he is another former Local 12 president. Mickey was president of Local 12 during the closure in 2020 and 2019, and Bryn was president before that. And both of them have stories that are important to know that really kind of show the lie to the article that Representative Scott Stadthagen wrote in attacking the UAW and attacking the UAW's campaign to organize non-union automakers in the South. So, Bryn, Mickey, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, this is Riley, and thank you guys for inviting us, and thank you for what you do. But I got to clear one thing up. I was the previous vice president. I never did serve as president of Local 12, but I was a full-time union guy for nearly half of my 34-year career at Goodyear.
Okay, gotcha. Good correction. Appreciate that. And Mickey, thank you too. I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing on this issue. I really do.
It's an honor to be able to fight back against against anti-worker lies and support working folks in Alabama as they're trying to unionize and as they are fighting against really slanderous reputational attacks on unions that exist. And so the whole premise of this article is that the union shut down the Gadsden plant, and we have, specific facts and information to dispute that in 2019 and 2020. But Bryn, when you were, working there at Gadsden and when you were an officer in Gadsden, there were actually multiple times that the union saved the facility. That Goodyear wanted to close the Gadsden facility some 20 years ago. You said even as far back as the 80s, Goodyear was making noises about wanting to close. So take us back to the 80s and then just work us up till until 2019.
Well,
how many times did y'all save the Gadsden Goodyear facility?
Well, let me take you a little further back than that. Let me take you back to 1929 because that's when our plant opened in Gadsden, Alabama. It was the first venture Goodyear made outside of the rubber city of Akron, and it was actually between Atlanta and Gadsden, Alabama. And they chose Gadsden, Alabama, not because it was a nice place to do business. They came to exploit the dumb white man because in the late 20s and early 30s, they wouldn't let an African American or a woman work. So they came to exploit the dumb Southerner. My grandfather left the cotton mill in Gadsden, Alabama. He was a looms repairer. He left and went to work at Goodyear in the early 30s as a pipe fitter. It took us to 1943, from 29 to 43, to organize under the United Rubber Workers. My grandfather used to tell me prior to the union, if you had like a steam leak dripping hot water down on your bald head on your job and you complained to the boss about it, His standard answer was, hey, boy, if you don't like your job, there's a barefoot boy on Sand Mountain that'll take it. So that was kind of the attitude toward workers. And, you know, they're still dispensable to some degree. But in 1943, we got our first contract. We got a little better every 3 years. You don't get everything you want the first contract. I mean, we've been negotiating contracts since 43. So I went to work there in 1978. I retired in 2011. In the middle 80s, 1986, we had heard rumblings starting in the late 70s about, you know, they're going to shut our plant down. They're going to shut our plant down. You don't see many manufacturing facilities, even those steel mills, that last 91 years like our plant did. But in 1986, the company approached us about taking out $30 million in annual cost. $30 million. And we did that through a concessionary bargain. And we actually gave away stuff that my granddaddy probably got his head cracked open for us to have. But, you know, it was a tough thing to do, but it was the right thing to do because it gave us a chance to fight again. Right. So that was 1986. We went through some other concessions. Hey, and we actually gave up piecework production. I was probably making $1,000 a week in 1980 building tires on piecework. When we gave up piecework, you got paid a flat rate. You know, so it cost me probably $400 a week back in the 80s. You know, and everybody at the plant refers to this concessionary bargain as the Boaz agreement because the union and company executives met in Boaz, Alabama to you know, do this concessionary bargain. Now let's wrap it on up to 2006. Goodyear came to 4 states. I was the vice president of the local union at this time. I was also the legislative person for USW Local 12. We had merged back in 95 from the rubber workers actually merged with the steel workers. We became steel workers in 95. So Goodyear came to 4 states, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas. And me being the legislative guy, I was in Montgomery with Bob Riley's finance department, Goodyear executives, and a group made up of our legislative delegation, Senator Larry Means, Representative Jack Page, who is now dead, Representative Craig Ford, who's now the mayor of the city of Gadsden, Representative Blaine Gallagher was a Republican, and we were all involved in putting together an incentive package. But what Goodyear said in 2006 to Goodyear, or to the state of Alabama, is, look, we would like to invest a minimum $125 million in our plant in your state. And we know what you've done for Mercedes. We know what you've done for Honda. We know what you've done for Hyundai or whoever. They knew about incentives. The question was asked, what's in it for us? We've been here since 1929. What's in it for us? And the state of Alabama asked one question. How many new jobs will a $125 million investment create? And Goodyear told the truth. It really shocked me that they told the truth. They said it may not create any because with new money, technology comes less people sometimes. We were actually able to put together a $50 million incentive package. $20 million was promised from the state of Alabama, and they delivered. They did a wire transfer of $20 million, and they committed to up to $10 million training reimbursement. The city of Gadsden committed to do $20 million because in Etowah County, Alabama, even today, we have an occupational tax that you pay 2% of your weekly earnings to the city of Gadsden. We had a $111 million annual payroll when our plant, right before, 2006. it was, or when the plant shut down in 2020, I think the latest, before the big layoff started, they were getting over $2 million a year from the occupational tax. The city of Gadsden was. So we put this package together. Now, what we did, we negotiated some clawbacks in it to protect taxpayer dollars. We had a minimum annual payroll they had to stay at or above. We had a minimum number of employees that they had to keep. We had a 15 or 20-year term that they had to keep the plant open, all to protect taxpayer dollars that I don't think we do a good job with today in incentives. They ended up shutting down Tyler, Texas. They accepted ours. They actually spent about $150 million. The state of Alabama delivered their $20 million plus their training dollars. The city of Gadsden never gave them a damn nickel other than the tax abatement on non-education trust fund on the 125 or 150 million they ended up spending. And Frankie Davis, who was the mayor's manufacturing guy, he called me one day and he asked me, so what do you think Goodyear's going to do? I said, Frankie, they're gone. He said, why don't you figure that? I said, y'all screwed them. He said, do what? I said, hell, y'all screwed them. You didn't give them the money. He said, yeah, but they said they wasn't going to do this. I said, Frankie, y'all were looking for a reason not to give them the money. Y'all let them spend $150 million and then tell them, nah, we ain't giving you nothing. I said, I've been around corporate America probably a little more than you have. And I said, when you screw folks like this, they take notes and they screw back. And I guarantee you, I retired in 2011 when I went to work for the AFL-CIO. But in 2020, the number one, and you'll never make me believe anything else, and Mickey may agree or he may disagree, but had Gadsden if they would have lived up to their commitment to provide $20 million, our plant would be there today probably with 3,000 employees.
That's right. And so
we'd have a new plant.
Right. That's true. There was, $150 million. There was a plant expansion. That is a lot to kind of cut loose like that. And so you think, Bren, that it wasn't even like so much a cold calculation. We can make so much more money if we do this in Mexico versus that. It was just, or it was a lot.
I think they were building the plant in Mexico because before COVID, Goodyear used to, they'd build all the tires they could build and put them in a warehouse. Well, guess what? That costs money. And everybody probably, even Huntsville, they like a just-in-time inventory because cash is king. And if you got a bunch of money tied up in inventory, you ain't got a lot of cash. So what the whole process was, Goodyear liked to bring in raw materials on the east end of the plant and finished product going to the market out the west end of the plant. Well, that ain't how business was done in 1929, and our plant was like 30 acres under roof, so, it was kind of scattered, and there was some excessive labor that but we could have worked through that. But the CEO at the time that happened, he had a real erection for Gadsden, and, COVID hit. They shut our plant down under the guise of COVID and maybe even idled some other ones. But they all thought that this COVID, and it was all new to us. We didn't know what it's going to do. We sure didn't know what it's going to do to the tire market. But what the chart actually showed, a big sharp decline. And Goodyear thought, and the economists thought that it was going to stay flat. Hell, it actually was a V. It went down and boom, right back up. And their Goodyear was, I believe, if they could have saved face, I believe they'd have built tires in Gadsden because the market was calling for them. In Mexico, they ain't gonna pay a guy in Gadsden, Alabama, $30 an hour and all the benefits when they get a guy in Mexico to work for $3 a day and don't have workers' comp or any kind of OSHA standards. If you get your arm pulled off down there, they give you a ride back to a dirt floor shack and 2 Band-Aids, but you'll never make me believe anything else other than if you promised me $20 million and you didn't give it to me, if I could get back with you. Now, guess what? this CEO's gone. He's gone on to another $20-30 million a year job. So
right.
And Mickey can talk about 2011 until 20, but I was involved as a onlooker. I wasn't part of the negotiation.
Well, and Bryn, one more before we turn over to Mickey. There was another. You talked about 86 and you talked about 2006, but there was another instance in 99, wasn't it, where Goodyear was making noises about closing the plant and the union was able to get them not to. Did we lose Bryn?
Looks like he's muted. But yeah, you're right. I think they went down, and I'm not sure on the head count of people left in the plant when they was taking the plant down in 99, but they went to running just the Banbury. And you had a lot of work out of the union and other folks in the community really trying to turn that around. And with that work of them and the Firestone rollover, we was able to start producing tires again in Gadsden.
Right.
And that was in 99.
And so, you know, I mean, there's really a history there in Gadsden of you know, obviously workers through the union, through, you know, the various, you know, I mean, a lot of the unions today, if you look at each individual local, there's an interesting history of kind of amalgamations and affiliations and all this kind of stuff. You started as the rubber workers and now affiliated with the Steelworkers. But there's a history of, obviously, workers trying to get more where they can. But where there's a real threat, workers working with the company to try to say, like, okay, you know, we'll take a haircut here, we'll take, you know, maybe we'll do this, you know, we'll try to increase production this amount or whatever, you know, making deals to save the company money to justify keeping the company in Gadsden making tires. And so, you know, knowing that and being part of that and being part of groups that are taking those haircuts, I mean, how did that feel reading that article where, you know, this guy who doesn't know nothing, doesn't know you from Adam, never talked to you during this process, accusing y'all of just being greedy?
Yes. And the workers, the bargaining unit workers, the union workers has actually took a lot of cuts through the years. And Bryn can speak to that more than I can. But we've took concessions because Goodyear did not manage the company properly. They didn't do a good job managing. You know, Goodyear nearly went broke. What year was it, Bryn? Help me with a year.
Hey, in 2006, matter of fact, I was going to roll $50,000 on my 401k into Goodyear stock. And I went to the website and it was $357 a share. And I thought, what a suitable caliber to shoot yourself with. And, you know, but, and I tell you, one year in lieu of a pay raise, Jacob, in master negotiations, we took stock options in lieu of a pay raise. And they did a grant price and you know, it was a 10-year grant and, you know, and it felt good to be treated like an executive with stock option, but we lost our tail in that. But let me say this before you know, we don't do a good job and, you know, in our heyday, we had over 4,500 people in the union in Gadsden, Alabama. And, you know, we as a union don't do a good job bragging on our members. We've got pastors. We got preachers that pastor churches. We got our members coach Little League Baseball. They substitute teach. They're involved with their church. We are the number one supporter of the United Way. When that plant went down the United Way, you know, it was like a Brinks truck being pulled from them because, you know, our people, we supported that kind of stuff. We tried to do what was right. And I used to tell the Chamber of Commerce, y'all hate our guts except when the United Way campaign starts. You know, but you know, I don't know how to fix it. You know, we don't do a good job bragging on ourselves and bragging on our members for what they do to make a difference, including working with the company. We used to tell management how stupid they were and how smart we were. Well, one time in one of the concessionary bargainings, they offered to give us some of those functions of management under a lead hand concept. They had a lot of the supervisors already laid off. After the 99 deal, they were going to bring the production folks back in, and they offered us like 15, 20%, I don't remember what it was, above what our pay was to do some of these functions of management. We actually used to balance overtime opportunities with our contract, because if I was the boss and Jacob was my buddy, I could let Jacob work all the overtime in a non-organized workplace.
Right.
But in a union workplace, we actually balanced opportunities to make sure not only Jacob got opportunities, but Adam and Mickey and Joe and Ted and Sue.
Right.
And we used to tell them how stupid they were when they would offer the overtime to the wrong person. And they'd basically cuss us out and tell us mind our own business. But guess what? When they skipped Adam and let Jacob work, they had to pay Jacob time and a half to do the job. But guess what? We got Adam paid time and a half for being down at the river drinking him a Bud Light. And you can't keep the place open. So we actually took some of those functions of management, and some of the guys that did that really got a ribbon for, they called them a queen for a day and a suck butt and all this. But it was another example of us stepping up to try to make this damn plant work. When I went to work there, we had an 18-hole golf course. Goodyear was putting about $2 million a year in the damn golf course. When we went to Boaz and took concessionary bargains, we made Goodyear sell the damn golf course. If you're going to make us give up wages and benefits, you damn sure ain't going to put fertilizer out on a golf course.
Right.
And they did it. They did it. They sold it to the members.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's so much of. I mean, really, I think there's definitely something to, there's a whole lot of, we like to rah about workers, getting pay raises and winning really cool things in contracts, but there's a lot of, unions saving the company from itself, that maybe we don't talk enough about. But
amen.
So getting up to 2019, 2020, so we can really drill in and specifically address some of the things that he was saying in this contract. Mickey, the national agreement that was in play at the time. Can you tell? Explain the process that Goodyear had to go through to outsource jobs. What was the process in the contract like, and how was that negotiated? And just explain that for us.
But the contract language protected us through that current contract till the end. We was protected. We could, I'm not sure the numbers, but we was had so many employees that would be working at the Goodyear facility in Gadsden, and all your other union plants was protected as well. What led up to this guy's letter is he says the union voted to shut the plant down. That's not what happened. What happened was Goodyear told us they were shutting the plant down at the end of the contract. They built a plant in Mexico, started building, I think, in 2013. Had it up and going in probably 16. They had a lot of hiccups there. You had, I think, the workers struck in Mexico due to unfair, just bad working conditions. So it was a slow process getting that plant up. Well,
and it's worth noting. It's worth noting, Mickey. You sent me an article from Tom Conway. I think the late Tom Conway is my understanding, and he in this article from the time noted how when those Mexican tire workers struck, dozens of them were fired for leading the strike. And that really goes to that's a real illustration of, it's not as if just magically, Mexican workers are paid less than us, and that's why. It's not magic. It's because companies are able to get away with stuff that they can't get away with here. And so, Mexican workers are they're people. They're the same as us. And so obviously, do they want to work for, $3 a day and a ride back home if they get their arm cut off? No, it's the conditions that they're facing there. And that these multinational corporations like Goodyear is at this point can go down there and take advantage of that. And they do, even when the Mexican workers try to fight back.
Yeah. Look. These corporations, and Goodyear, I probably have more dealings with them than anyone, but it's all about the dollar. They could care less about humanity and what is right and what is wrong. They don't care. They don't care. They never will.
Right.
And in my opinion, the union is what tries to keep it on a level playing field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, them workers in Mexico, they probably hadn't gotten near the laws we have to protect them.
Absolutely. And so,
they were standing up for what was right.
Right. And so, Mickey, you were saying that Goodyear comes to you and they say, and the contract, expired in 2022, I think it was, and they come to you in 2019 or 2020 and they say, look, we're gonna close the facility at the end of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to close the facility at the end of the contract, which at the end of the contract, after the contract is over, then that's when you have to bargain a new contract. But in the interim, there's the company has a whole lot more kind of latitude in between contracts if they want to exploit that. And so that was something that they were doing, is they were trying to exploit that, more kind of maneuverability that they had. And so, talk to us. They come to you and what happens next?
They asked to shut the plant down immediately. And they offered something that wasn't even close to what they owed us, as far as looking to the end of the contract and wages and benefits. So the union's answer was, we're not interested. They said, look, we're going to shut you down at the end of this contract. Why don't you take this? And our union answer was, we're not interested. You owe us till the end of this contract. So we come back and met again, and we ended up getting a fairly close agreement as far as meeting them expectations of the current agreement of getting the people money, their benefits. Now, we did have a lot of hiccups in the middle of it because you had COVID, you had unemployment involved, and so on. But the people that voted was membership. If you wasn't a worker in that plant, you didn't vote. Now, this lovely state senator that we're talking about, he says the higher-ups voted to close it. That's wrong. They didn't get a vote. And the luxury SUV that he was talking about was probably a 2013 Equinox with about 300,000 miles on it. So what we done is the union got these people paid for the life of the contract, that current contract, and they got to get educated and get paid and get out and find other jobs during that time, because the plant did shut down. It shut down, and they got the rest of the contract and their wages and benefits.
Well, and they still had
Goodyear. Do you think Goodyear wanted to do that? No. Right. If it hadn't been for a union, they'd have closed the doors and said, hey, here's your pink slip, here's your warrant money, see you later. But this state senator, he failed to tell the people that.
Right. And he was, and so So they come to you and they say, look, we want to close the plant right now. Here's a buyout offer. And you said, no, you owe us through the end of the contract. You're going to pay us the equivalent of through the end of the contract. And so you were able to get that, basically 2 years. 2 years of pay for these folks to try to get their feet under them and figure out something else to do. And that was, like you said, there's no way you're going to get that without a union. That's really does show the value of having a union, even in cases where, management is going to cut you loose, and they're going to do that. Actually, this is a great thing to note. I just got a call yesterday from a brother at Aerojet Rocketdyne. They just had a union vote to try to organize with a machinist, and they got beat. The union it didn't go through. It was actually it was more lopsided than I was expecting. Vote against the union. This was 3 or 4 months ago, and would you believe, Mickey, that they had a mass layoff yesterday? Would you? But they don't have a union, and so they can't negotiate over it. Exactly like you said, they got pink slips, they got a little bit of severance, and they said, see, not going to see you again. Get out of here. That was it. That was it. And if the union had won the election, then they would have been able to negotiate over it. And people would have said, oh, they're doing this mass layoff because of the union, even though obviously it was happening anyway. And so unlike y'all down there in Gadsden, these folks here in Huntsville who voted against unionization they were not able to negotiate over the terms of their mass layoff, where dozens of people in Huntsville were just laid off. And so I think that's a really that's a great illustration of the value even in unfortunate circumstances.
Absolutely.
And so you were also
these politicians. If you look at these politicians, they get all this money. You know where it comes from? Corporations. That's where the big money comes from.
Yeah, well, this guy is actually a non-union construction owner, construction contractor owner. Yeah. So.
So I mean, they're going to lie, cheat, steal, whatever they can do to make us look bad, because the other side is padding their pockets.
Yep.
And you know who suffers? You know who suffers over it? The working class, the middle class.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. And I appreciate y'all coming and talk. Mickey, I mean, you were talking about this situation yesterday, and it was I could tell that this was, I mean, really, it took a toll on you going through this. Folks that you've worked with for years, having to start their life over in mid-career. I mean, what was that like, having the corporation, do that to y'all?
It was probably one of the worst times of my life, just to be honest. It was hard because you'd see these people come in the union hall and wanting help, didn't know what to do. And Riley can tell you, Local 12 was the history of Local 12. They got out and helped. They worked. And we did that. We got out and worked and done everything we could to try to help our members. And Goodyear sat over and really didn't do nothing.
Right.
They didn't help whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a hard time for everybody.
And this Representative Stadthagen, he was around at that time. He was in office in 2019. And so this is a story that clearly he was following. It clearly, he at least pretends it means something to him. Did he reach out to y'all during this time to ask how he can help?
No, he did not. We reached out to a lot of local politicians, state politicians, and even a little bit higher up than that. And there's, the state politicians, I don't remember hearing anything from them. Riley might can speak more on that. The mayor's office in the city of Gadsden, we met with them twice, telling them, hey, we're in trouble. We need to get together and work on something to try to turn this around. The first one, they laughed. They said, oh, they've been saying this for years. They'll never close that plant. I said, guys, you better listen to me. We're in trouble right here. So a month later, we meet again. I asked to meet, and we got nothing again.
Well, and on the state side of it, Mickey Ray, the state felt like, hey, we did our part. We gave $20 million cash.
That's
and
right.
up to $10 million in training reimbursement. Damn, Gadsden, you're supposed to pony up your 20. So
That's
the state
right.
wasn't very amenable to helping the city out. The city, in my opinion, the city is the villain. They, hell, if they had paid the money, the plant would be open today, and I won't never think anything different.
Right.
I agree, because, and I actually, I wasn't in, I was working there in 2006, but Riley and them's negotiations, I was not part of them, but I did see the plan that constructed a new plant in Gadsden. And if we would have got that, we would have been probably one of the most modern plants that Goodyear had
in the world.
And yeah, so I don't understand why the city was the way they were. But the same administration in the city in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, was the same administration in 2020.
Yeah. Well, and just to be explicit about the go, higher up. I mean, do you care if I say what you said yesterday, or were you not wanting to say that? Higher up politically.
Oh, yeah. We actually, and I never did look the guy's name up. We actually had a guy call me at a basketball game one night and said, "Hey, introduced himself. His granddaddy thought the world of my father, and so on and so on. And I'd never talked to this guy. He said, I think I may have somebody that can help you, because I was raised in the Gadsden area, and I don't want to see nothing happen to the plant." So we get on a call with a guy at the White House who was Trump's right-hand man. Trump was in office then. And in that call, he told us, he said, "Guys, let me see what I can do." He called back that evening and said, "I can't help you." And we reached out to him multiple times after that, and never heard from him again. But there was no help from the White House.
Right.
At all.
Kind of like that wall Mexico was going to build.
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. It's a, it's a real shame. And I think, and this is obviously just speculation on my part, but, I have to believe, and I would believe, I guess kind of like Brent, I don't know that I can believe anything else. If this plant was in Ohio, I believe that Trump would have been doing something about it. Or if this plant was in, a swing state. But he felt like, well, or if he even thought about it for a second, whoever his handlers are that tell him what to think, this is Alabama. He's got it in the bag. He don't need to work for votes here. And so he don't really care that much about what happens to a plant here in Alabama. That's what I think as far as Trump's lack of involvement. But
yep.
And it's really scary, but a tweet at that time that come from Trump.
Yeah.
It moves things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't even get that.
Yeah. It's a shame. Well, Mickey Ray, Bryn Riley, Mickey Ray Williams, I really appreciate y'all's time and appreciate y'all taking the time to talk about this. I know it's something that can kind of be difficult to talk about, especially, Mickey Ray, you haven't gone through that and that haven't been such a big part of your life. But I thought it was important to respond to this and have some of the folks who were, and that's the funny thing, like people will talk about this and there's never any interest in we're talking about this situation. Maybe we should talk to somebody who actually was there for it. I don't know why that isn't people's first thought, but that was my first thought.
Let me add this, Jacob. I don't know this Stadhagen guy, but I've seen some of these ALEC bills, and I've seen some of these Chamber of Commerce, and I've seen some of these Business Council of Alabama op-eds. I think the boy signed his name to some shit they prepared for him, and now he's getting it stuck right up his rear.
There you go. We're gonna keep trying to stick it up there.
Put it to him. Put it to him, baby. Put it to him.
All right, brothers.
Jacob, I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate what y'all do. All right. Well,
thanks, brothers. Take care.
Take care.
Yep.
See you.
Bryn Riley, president of the Alabama AFL-CIO, former vice president for the United Steelworkers Local 12. Mickey Ray Williams, staff representative for the United Steelworkers and former president of United Steelworkers Local 12 during the closure of the Gadsden Goodyear plant. Really important stuff to give some facts to some of this nonsense coming from like Brent said, probably an op-ed that the BCA wrote.
Yeah, and I also want to say that Josh Moon did a pretty good column on this, and you and I sometimes disagree with Josh and some of his politics. And
I think this was my favorite article I have ever seen from Josh. I don't know that I have seen another one that I liked better.
Yeah, so I really appreciated him,
Yeah.
Using his platform to speak truthfully, especially since the op-ed, the false op-ed traveled quite a bit. I don't remember who all published it, but
APR and Yellowhammer.
That's
at
what.
least.
Yeah. So, we're seeing a full court blitz in the media against unions here in Alabama. It's nearly every day is some kind of new op-ed. There's a politician they've trotted out from somewhere. Current politicians, former politicians, they've recruited some pastors to do this.
Yeah.
It's really a shame to see this propaganda, but I'm looking at the bright side. The fact that they're doing this means we're winning.
Absolutely. Brandon in the YouTube chat says, Brandon with ALU KCVG here, campaign in Northern Kentucky, unionizing Amazon. We're having our kickoff of the vote to affiliate with the Teamsters today at 2 p.m. That's very exciting. Going to try to call in around 1:30 if that's okay. Brandon, I think you're in the Eastern time zone, so 1:30 is 12:30 for us. 12:30 is right when we wrap up the show. If you could call in a little bit earlier, I would appreciate it. But if you're able to get a call in right at 12:30, I don't know that I would have it in me to end the show.
Yeah, give us a call, man.
So give us a call. Try to call in a little bit earlier if you can, but definitely want to hear about that. Okay, so Jesse Waters, Adam, you're a big fan of Ozzy Osbourne, and also a big fan of Jesse Waters, right? Out at Fox News.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who he was at first, but then I do recall him. I couldn't put the name with the face. I have done so, unfortunately, now, and so I am familiar with his work, so to speak.
Yeah, so there we go. This is Jesse Waters is a host at Fox News, and he's just got a really interesting theory about how much money $20 an hour is. Let's play this clip.
If you're making $20 an hour to work at a fast food restaurant, all right, is that six figures? Are you making
no?
What
40 grand. 40 grand. 50 is just two exit and add a few zeros.
Yeah. Okay, so
40K a year. Okay, full time.
40K a year.
Yeah.
So, and then if your husband or wife is also there, you're making $100,000 as a family.
Sure.
Both working at McDonald's.
80
yes.
grand.
That is okay. That's crazy. That is crazy. because that job really doesn't require much. So it's inflating the entire, labor sector. And
the Happy Meal.
And the Happy Meal.
Unhappy, very unhappy.
Which I'm very unhappy about.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, that's pretty ghoulish there, saying that a family of two, both working full-time, don't deserve $80,000 a year. I mean, that is just really wild stuff and super out of touch. You can tell. I mean, this is a millionaire, right? This guy makes millions of dollars a year. And so
to whine on TV.
To whine on TV. Yeah, exactly right. And to pretend, he does this kind of, I'm a populist, fighting for the everyman thing, kind of like Tucker Carlson did or does. And so, the idea that he's saying $20 an hour is too much, for, or $20 an hour, 6 figures. I mean, that is just really wild.
I loved how he exaggerated 2 or 3 different times there on the math itself. Like,
you got 2 people making 20 an hour. Well, that's 6 figures, right? Well, no, actually 40 times 2 that's 80. Right. That's 80, Jesse. It's not 100.
Right. I mean, maybe if they had an 18-year-old living at home who also worked full time. I mean, come on now. It's just it's always bothersome when talking millionaires talk down at us and think that we are asking for too much to have a living wage. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see this gentleman work just a couple shifts at a fast food place. Work a good open and a good close. Yeah. Maybe in the same day.
Maybe do it cloping.
Real experience. Yeah, to get that real experience.
You got a cloping.
Yeah. I think it's all, I mean, I just kind of have this general rule that you can often tell when people have never worked in the service sector before. They tend to be a little oblivious to things. Right. Having worked in restaurants, having worked in fast food, it's a hard job, man. It's not. Yeah. You can say it's easy in terms of intellectually, perhaps. Yeah. I mean, perhaps, but there's a lot that goes into it, whether you're in the customer service side of things, which can be always stressful and uneasy and even dangerous at times, or if you're in the back, right, and you're getting burned up and covered in grease all the time. That was some of the hardest work I've ever done, was working in some fast food places, scrubbing floors, scrubbing toilets, cleaning grills.
It was absolutely the hardest.
It can be really grueling. It can be hot. It can be tiresome. Of course, without a union there, good luck getting a break at a timely manner. And if you do get a break, it's going to be usually at management's discretion, and management will determine, what you can do on that break and where you can go on that break, and maybe if you're lucky, they'll throw you a 30% discount on the food if you're lucky. So.
Well, and so this was in response to recently California raised the minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 an hour. And so a lot of people are really upset about this. There's this one Twitter.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the cost of living in California,
exactly,
right? Like, okay, $40,000 is not going to take you very far in Los Angeles or San Francisco.
Well, and there's this Twitter account called End Wokeness, who tweeted a picture of and who knows if this is even real, right? But it's a picture of a menu supposedly before and after the thing, and he was like, this is what happens when you raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour, and literally the burger. It was a double burger or whatever, I can't remember the name of it, but it increased the price by 20 cents. And the milkshake was 5 cents more expensive. Right. And so, it's like,
maybe
that's a win. Like, that's a win. Like, if I can pay 20 cents more for a burger and they get $20 an hour, okay, yeah, I will do that. And also, we know, like, you can just take a look at the McDonald's menu from Denmark, where McDonald's workers not only make $22, $23 an hour, they also have 6 weeks of paid vacation. They all have health care. They have maternity and paternity leave. I mean, it's just like, and it's the same price, actually. Denmark, I think their burgers are in McDonald's are actually a little bit less expensive than in the United States. So, actually, it's not necessary to raise prices and pay people, more of the value that they create, because the value is being created. It's just a question of where does it go? Does it go into the pockets of the people who actually make, or does it go into the pockets of the people who own, who make money because they have money?
And the thing is, they often forget that when folks like fast food workers get a pay raise, they immediately turn around and spend that in the community. Right? It's not like a billionaire who gets an extra few million to, stock away in some account somewhere, right? It's being spent in the community. It's being spent on car repairs and doctor's visits, buying new clothes for the kids for school, all the different expenses that just come up in life, right? And so there used to be, even among fairly moderate, not even progressive people, an understanding that you could, in fact, grow the economy from the bottom up. That, consumption is a pretty large part of our economy. When workers don't have the money to consume, it slows the economy, right? So more money in the pockets of more workers, more spending. You can get into the weeds on all that, but yeah, it's just wild to me that that is not really appreciated anymore. And this guy being a jackass, making millions of dollars to be a jackass on TV.
And tell you that you have it good enough and you don't deserve better.
Right.
That's what they make their money at. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem with a fast food worker making $20 an hour. The only problem I might have is that enough?
Right.
Because a living wage in some areas may be more than that, frankly.
Yeah.
But kudos to the workers who have been really organizing in California. A lot of fast food worker organizing is happening. I know they are developing councils in the state and local government to deal with this. I think that's really important. I mean, I applaud the workers for organizing. Wherever businesses go, workers should organize.
Right.
And if we're stuck with a bunch of crappy fast food restaurants that serve, mediocre food, at the very least, we should unionize those and try to get the best possible deal for the workers involved. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, just wait. They're going to automate all this. They'll have robots flipping burgers. Okay. Last I checked, the promise of automation, the good things they sell us about automation, right, is that it will do jobs that human beings don't want to do anymore.
Right.
I'm not mad if you can automate more and more fast food labor. I am concerned about the workers, sure. That's why I believe in a federal job guarantee, right? I believe that every person who wants a job should be able to get a job. But I'm not scared of paying the workers a little bit more, and now all of a sudden we're going to automate. I don't think that's going to happen to a large degree, but to the extent that it happens, so be it. If we can free more humans from the drudgery of fast food labor, then fine. I'm fine with that. There's other ways to create jobs. There's a whole lot of jobs that need to be done in this country. A whole lot. From saving our environment to rebuilding our infrastructure to the care economy with, from nurses to teachers and on and on. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in this country. I'm not scared of raising wages too quickly and forcing automation. No, the problem is the companies.
Right. And automation is happening already. I mean, we see in Alabama, we have in Alabama a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. And I already see McDonald's that will barely take your order from a person.
Right.
I mean, that's
happening regardless.
It's happening regardless, and actually, I think some of what we've seen when we introduce some of these automated, screens where nobody takes your order, you do the order yourself, is that actually, that creates kind of more that makes frees up the workers to do, back of the house work more, and so you actually don't lose jobs that way. But so automation's coming,
but
people should make a living wage in the meantime.
Yes.
And in the meantime, and as automation is coming, workers should unionize so that they have a say in how that automation is implemented and who gets money from the increased productivity.
Right. I mean, the problem is not necessarily machines. It's that we don't own or control the machines, and therefore we can be victimized by them. It doesn't have to be that way, right? We could automate a whole lot of drudgery labor in order to free people up to do other things. That's certainly an approach, but yeah, this trend is happening. I mean, I went to the doctor's office yesterday, and rather than fill out the clipboards, right, I was sent a link on my phone, and I had to sit out there in the waiting room for 10 minutes dealing with this stupid little form that would always reset constantly. And I was just doing this 10, 15 minutes at least. What would have taken 3 minutes on a piece of paper. But because they have continually off-sourced all this work to consumers a lot of times. So yeah, that's happening regardless. We might as well get paid in the meantime.
We got a caller on the line. Probably Brandon. Adam, what area code are we?
We got two callers on the line. We got a 256 and a 714.
Let's go to 714. I think that one's Brandon. 714 area code. What is your name? Where are you calling from? Whoa. 714. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Buenos dias, comrades. I'm sorry I'm not Brandon. I do want to hear what Brandon has to say. So San Francisco Negrete from Teamsters Local 952 and from Teamster Mobilized, talking about the out here in California, $20 for fast food workers. They deserve it. And it's funny, I went to a Carl's Jr., which is a Hardee's in some parts of the country, a couple weeks back, and an assisted AI took my order, which was I found it kind of shocking, So you already have these chain restaurants, fast food restaurants, already probably cutting down on the workforce and a little bit, So it's interesting. And I see Jake got a haircut for labor notes. That's pretty cool. I would have done the same thing too if I was going to labor notes. Teamster Mobilized is going to be at labor notes. So if you see a person with a red shirt and it has a Teamster logo on the front of it, just go up to one of the comrades and say hi. I know also Labor for Palestine is going to do something. They're going to be at labor notes too. I think they're going to have a meetup. I almost know that they're going to be selling buttons there. I don't know about. I think they were trying to work on shirts. I don't think they are. But I don't think they're going to get the shirts on time. But the buttons, they'll have some Labor for Palestine buttons for sale at labor notes. So they're trying to do a meet and greet as well. So if you see them out there, stop by and say hello to the great comrades at Labor for Palestine as well. And
I will do that. Yeah, and I appreciate you calling in with that. I have never seen. Now I have been, I've seen the things where I have to put the order in, but I've never had my order taken from an AI. So that would be a new one.
It was through the drive-thru, and I was shocked.
Wow.
Because the car in front of me, I heard the voice, and it has that generic monotone voice that the AI does, and I was shocked. I'm like, wait, what? And then then they're taking my order, and then I see onto the side it says, "You are being assisted by." I'm paraphrasing now. You're being assisted by our AI assisted blah 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 blah. I was just like, whoa.
Wow.
I'm like, it's here now, and I'm pretty sure Carl / Hardee's, there might be the first ones that I've seen fast food restaurants have, but I'm sure McDonald's and all the rest of those leeches will do the same too, just to reduce the labor cost, because I guess $20 an hour offends a lot of people, so which is interesting. And there's a lot of things happening in the teams. I heard you guys talk about the international organized IBT organizer staff that lost their vote count with the Washington, Biltmore, Washington, Baltimore, Washington News Guild, which was a close vote, so that was, I think every worker should be organized, whether you work for a multi-billion-dollar corporation or if you work for a nonprofit or where you work for a union, every worker should be representative. So,
absolutely. And just to comment on that really quick, I mean, that was really disappointing to see. And in other union busting news, there was a 1199 SEIU. Apparently, their staff have a campaign, I think, also with the Washington Baltimore News Guild. The WBGN or WBNG, they represent a lot of union staff. And so 1199 SEIU, they're unionizing. And there's a sign in their office with CWA and like the circle with a cross through it, like say no to CWA. Keep the CWA out, stay SEIU strong or something like that. I was like, oh my God, that is.
I'm sure the Teamsters did something similar. I don't work over there in Washington, but I'm pretty sure they did something similar. And I don't know if you guys were able to catch Sean O'Brien on Breaking Points. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I don't remember the week, but
no, I didn't see that.
When Crystal asked him, I think it was Crystal. I forget the other host's name. I apologize to him. They asked Sean O'Brien about Amazon and stuff, and he was talking about, they're going to invest $300 million in organizing Amazon, but also something a little nugget that he threw out there was that they were working on some affiliations, and now with Brandon, what he put in the chat earlier. So that could be one of the affiliations too, is that maybe the teams are looking into, swallowing up the Amazon Labor Union. Well, I'm pretty sure they are over there in Northern Kentucky. And, Brandon wouldn't have said that comment. So we might be doing some affiliations, or what they call union rating, whatever you want to call it. So it was interesting. And of course, he had to let a lot of us down when he didn't want to take a stand on Palestine. It was.
Oh, did they ask him about that? And he didn't take
yes,
a stand.
Yes, that was the last question that Crystal asked, was about, how other unions have endorsed a ceasefire, regardless whatever you think of their resolution. There's some good ones, so some ones are very watered down, but a resolution is a resolution. It's a positive step forward, but he didn't want to commit. He talked about he's committed to fighting the American corporations, and like you just had two brothers on talking about how these corporations, they don't know any boundaries. They don't know any. They just know exploitation. That's all they know. They don't care about U.S. law. They don't care about Mexican law. They don't care about Indonesian law. They don't care about Chinese law. They just care about the exploitation of workers, and who could make who could they pay the lowest to, so they could get the higher profits, because consumers will buy, a Nike shoe costs $10 to make or something like that, but Nike turns around and sells them for $150, $200. That's all profit. So it's we need to get out of that mindset. Our struggles are interconnected, whether you live in Anaheim, California, Bessemer, Alabama, in one of the cities in Monterrey. So, but on one last point, Labor Notes will have a UPS lessons from the UPS contract campaign, which will be very interesting. I hope they don't whitewash it. Yes, we did get rid of a 2-tier wage system for drivers, but we replaced it with a 2-tier poverty wage system for part-timers. We have all, I don't know if you've been reading the news, but UPS is basically announcing 3 times a week, once a week, twice a week, sort closures throughout this country. We had nothing to stop that. But then again, the United Auto Workers, they negotiated, I forgot which one of the big 3, right to strike over plant closure. So it could be done. It could be done.
3. Yeah.
All of the big 3. I thought it was one of the big 3.
No,
so it's all of the big 3. See, it could be done. It could be done. Everybody knows how I feel about the IBT general president. Not a big fan of him. I just hope we were having the elections now, and there was a slate running against him. But it is what it is. So I hope everybody that goes to Labor Notes has a great time. They learn something. And I hope Brandon calls in because I would love to hear about that Northern Kentucky vote today or kickoff or whatever they're having over there. So, comrades, thank you for everything. Thank you for having the show, and all power to the workers.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, Jose. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I will say I don't think that Jose meant it in a super serious way, but I don't think that I would call union affiliating with another union a raid. I think that if the workers want to vote to merge ALU into the Teamsters, I think that that's probably a good move with what's going on with the ALU in Staten Island, at least. I don't know. I think Northern Kentucky seems to be a little bit sturdier maybe than what's going on in Staten Island, unfortunately, at this point. But nevertheless, appreciate the call.
Absolutely. And to the point about Labor Notes, this is a good time just to encourage folks, if you're going to be there, say hello to us.
Yes.
We'll have hats, we'll have stickers. Our show is always broke. I personally am really broke. If you would like to buy stickers, I'm not going to stop you. I'd be more than happy to do that. But yeah, we're working on a couple workshops, so check them out. I'm there doing a media workshop as part of the Labor Radio Podcast Network, and I know Jacob is moderating a panel on organizing in the South, and then going to appear on a panel on labor councils. So we'll definitely be in the mix. Holler at us while you're there. Hoping everyone is safe, have safe travels. Looking forward to it. Going in 2022 was definitely a highlight for me. It was one of the favorite things I've done. And so I can't wait for this one. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to see all, these brothers and sisters that I know and have been talking to, many of you from the show. It's just it's like a family reunion of all the militant union folks in the country. Folks are there because they want to be there.
Right.
It's not like some conventions or conferences where people are kind of there because they have to be.
Or nobody else wanted to be,
Yeah, they just sort of got sent there. People are there because they're passionate. They really want to put the movement back into the movement. And, I really appreciate that. So looking forward to it. And with that, I think I'll take the other caller. Sorry about that, y'all.
256 area code. Think I know who this is. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good, Jacob, Adam. Hope y'all are. Listen, I just wanted to weigh in really fast. I know it's getting late. On Senate Bill 231, we all know what that's about. Listen, I tried to call Arthur Orr's Montgomery number and let him know how I felt about it, but quite naturally his voicemail was full, so he didn't get that message. I tried his Decatur office, and I did get the answering machine and left him a message, and I know they're in session, so I didn't really expect to call back, but I do have a call in for him. I hope he does call me back. But what I wanted to say was I've talked to Arthur Orr couple of times in the last couple of years, particularly during the UMWA strike, probably 6 or 7 months into the strike. And when I contacted him, he told me he was unaware that there was even a strike going on down there. I felt that was kind of difficult to believe, but then again, okay, that's what he told me. And I guess the point I want to make real quick is he had absolutely no concern for those workers down there if he didn't even know the strike was going on. But now his position is he wants to take care of Alabama workers being intimidated by the UAW. So it just goes to show it ain't got nothing to do with anything other than he's a fat cat executive vice president with Cook's Pest Control, and that's a pretty big outfit. he ain't concerned about nothing but taking care of the big corporate structure in this state, and that's really all I got to say, Jacob. Appreciate what you do. Hey, I appreciate Jose every time I hear him call. He's a well-spoke, intelligent feller, and I hope he keeps calling in because I'm always interested in what he's got to say. Appreciate it, y'all.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, appreciate you, brother, and appreciate you making that call to Arthur Orr, even though you didn't get him. Really means a lot that we've had a lot of pushback on SB 231. We've talked a lot about it on the show. It's the bill that would strip incentives from companies that voluntarily recognize their union. And two things I'll say on that. One, I've appreciated the amount of pushback that we have generated. People are working together. You've got Alabama Rise and Jobs to Move America and the North Alabama Area Labor Council and the Alabama State Labor Federation and people from the National Fed, people from all sorts of different unions in the state. We're kind of talking to each other. We're collaborating, strategizing, trying to come up with a good response. And so that's been, progress. And so I'll give Arthur Orr a little bit of credit. He got us talking to each other and working together in a way that maybe we weren't a month ago. But the other thing I'll say is my personal experience with legislators this session has been pretty similar. I have tried really, really hard to talk to my legislators. I have left voicemails on every number available. I have sent postcards. I have sent original emails. I've sent action alert emails. I have visited Montgomery. You and I were in Montgomery for 2 days. We tried to chase those suckers down. Yep. Left stuff in their offices. Left stuff at the secretaries. I even went to the Limestone County Legislative Office, where they have a physical, storefront presence. I went there. The lights were off. The door was locked. Someone was inside. I could hear him watching TV or something. But that's fine. That's fine. I get it. I slid my notes under the door. To her credit, the office manager did email me back promptly and was like, hey, I got this. What can I do to help you? And I was like, I really insist that they communicate with me. I would like a phone call, a Zoom, an in-person meeting, whatever works for you. But I want to hear from my legislators because of all those dozens of contacts, I've received one response. Representative Danny Crawford emailed me back one time about the Choice Act early in the session just to tell me that it wasn't actually using public school dollars, which is false, but he never responded to my follow-ups. He hasn't, responded to any of the other issues. Senator Larry Stutz, and by the way, Google Senator Larry Stutz lawsuit. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down. But he has not responded to me ever. He was not my senator until fairly recently during the last redistricting rounds. Tim Melson was my senator. Not that he was much more responsive, but Senator Larry Stutz has literally never responded to me. And, that's pretty disrespectful as a constituent. I understand you're not going to agree with everything I say, but damn it, I'm a taxpayer in your district. I'm clearly engaged enough to try to reach out to you on all these different issues. At the very least, you owe me, a 5-minute phone call. Tell me to screw off. That's fine. But you owe me that. With that, I guess maybe they realize that I'm a union leader. Maybe they don't. But the truth is, I'm going to go report back to as many members as possible. Hey, these people are unresponsive. So that's been my experience.
Yep. All right. Well, it's 12:32. I don't see another call in, so we may have to head on out. But Brandon, if you
leave us a voicemail, man.
Leave us a voicemail.
If you don't catch this in time, you don't get us a call here in the next minute or so, definitely leave us a voicemail, and we'd love to play that. And really appreciate Brandon sharing that with us and wishing you all kinds of luck. I know it's a tough road with that company in particular, but really appreciate the work y'all are doing here in the South. And Looking forward to seeing everybody at Labor Notes. I didn't get a chance to really do much Alabama legislative update, but I will say the good news is that Senate Bill 231 has not moved out of since it moved out of committee, right? It could be on the Senate floor this week, so we still need folks contacting their senators, leave some voicemails, send some emails, make contacts, let them know there's pressure about this bill because they weren't expecting it, frankly. I don't think they expected any kind of pushback. They thought this would just sail on through, another corporate ALEC bill. So there's other stuff going on. The budgets are starting to move. The librarians are under attack. They want to tie library funding to the governor's recommendations on changing the admin code. And a lot of people are right now submitting public comments because it's the public comment period for this. But the legislature is trying to do an end around the public comments, basically. And so we'll have more to report on that next week. But there's been some really bad bills passing from the legislature. There's a few good bills out there as well. Definitely stay tuned, stay engaged, talk to your legislators. If you actually get any responses from them, share them with us. We'd love to know. But if you're having the same trouble I'm having, share that with us as well. We'd love to know who's unresponsive to their constituents.
Yep. All right. Well, as we head out, I'll just leave you with the headline of the most recent Steve Flowers opinion piece. Second congressional district primary runoffs ahead. He's insightful as always. Really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's true. There is an election next week. There is an election next week. Anthony Daniels and Figures, Shamari Figures. So that's Alabama District 2. Republicans and Democrats are both having a runoff. If you live down there, go vote. It's worth your time to put in a vote. I have plenty of thoughts about all that, but I'm going to keep them to myself right now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just see what happens.
We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
Do our best with what we got.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in.